Chapter 828. Break the ice to get out. Chapter 828. Break the ice to get out. Seeing that his first strike did not bring him victory, Blackhorn was solemn. He sensed the energy fluctuate on Shi Yan's body. Then he became more frightened. At this moment, the energy ripples generated from Shi Yan wasn't something a warrior at the second sky of King God realm could have done. Even a warrior with the third sky of King God realm cultivation base couldn't store energy at the high level that he was doing. Blackhorn focused. He no longer had contempt toward Shi Yan. Standing there imposingly, a cold mist gushed out from his body, twirling around him. The hazy mist continually diffused and expanded. A freezing aura overflowed from Blackhorn's body. Shortly, the several thousand square meter training yard was engulfed by a cold mist. Crack, crack. In the white fog, a glacier cracked on the ground and slowly emerged in the training yard. The translucent glacier was formed by the underground water under Blackhorn's freezing energy. The chilly aura glowed even in the yard while the glacier shot out dazzling lights. The cold air permeated everywhere in the Blue Demon's base and slowly expanded to other places of the Heaven Punishment City. Many warriors of the Heaven Punishment City, walking on the glamorous streets of the Heaven Punishment City, suddenly felt cold air coming, which made them shudder. All of a sudden, those people found the source of this phenomenon was the Blue Demon's base. They hesitated for a while, then started to gather. The arena where Shi Yan and Blackhorn were fighting was the large training yard outside the Blue Demon's building, which had several stone gates. Guards of the Blue Demon pirates were watching each gate. They didn't allow anyone to get in. Chief! A warrior of Blue Demon stood by the stone gate and looked at Feng Ke from the far distance and asked for orders. They are asking to come in and watch the fight. Should we allow them? Many warriors in the Heaven Punishment City were gathering at the stone gates of the training yard, screaming and yelling, asking to get in and watch the battle. Feng Ke arched his brows. He watched them from the stone platform, contemplated for a while, then said faintly, "Let them in." The crowd surrounding the stone gates became louder hearing him. Shortly after, many people stormed in and encircled the yard. Seeing the glacier raising in the air, they discolored in fear, asking the others to know what was happening here. Among this crowd, some people were hiding in the back as if they were afraid of being noticed. That small group of people included Karthu, Ziyao, Ao Gera, Yalin, and Taimu. Karthu, Ziyao, and Ao Gera, who had covered their faces with masks and stood behind the pirates of the Heaven Punishment City. They didn't dare come closer. Instead, they remained hiding and watching from a distance. "It's him." As she had just arrived, Ziyao trembled at first glance, shouting through her gritted teeth. Karthu, Ao, Gera, and the others looked, and their faces became strange when they found a young man standing nonchalantly behind the glacier. Why is he fighting this other person? Ziyao was very surprised, whispering her question as she couldn't understand the situation. "Hey friend, what is going on?" Karthu frowned. He stepped forward, flashing 5 medium-quality, divine crystals in his palm, then shoving them into the sleeve of a pirate. "Haha, they are fighting because of young Lady Feng Rao. Master Barrett wants to marry young Lady Feng Rao." Master Feng Ke agreed with him before. However, it seems Our Lady likes that kid more than they. As the pirate received the payment from Karthu, he narrated the story livelily. After that, he waved his hands and stomped his feet to add more details. When Blackhorn and that kid started this battle, it didn't look like he will lose. This battle is fascinating. You should concentrate on the battle. Karthu was surprised. He nodded to the pirate, then stepped back, lowered his voice, and explained to Ziyao's group. "That asshole attacks Barrett's troop because of a woman. Damn it." Ziyao felt so annoyed listening to Karthu's narration. She cursed under her breath. She gritted her teeth while her beautiful eyes looked at Shi Yan with rage. Second sky. The second sky of King God Realm. This kid is really incredible. Carthu smiled bitterly, turning around to glare at Ao Gera. He compared the two inwardly, his face odd. Ao Gera grimaced, standing there upright and anxiously. This boy really is exceptional, Taimua praised. Yala nodded in agreement. I know him. Bai Ro's voice arose from another group. Father, his name is Shi Yen. We got him from Nita in the 6th Herbal Star. We used him as the human body cauldron for a while. After that, he joined Du Feng, and Zi Yao rescued them all. This man killed Fergie in our Underworld League. He's really ruthless. Without him, Du Feng could never escape. Just like Zi Yao, Bai Ro was disguised. She appeared to be a normal woman without the gentle and white features of the past. A new character. Bai Tian, the commander of the Underworld League, nodded. He was wearing a straw raincoat with a leaf hat. His realm isn't bad. The second sky of King God Realm. Oh yeah, his realm isn't low. How were you guys able to capture him and make him a human cauldron that year? Bai Ruo. Bai Tian frowned, changing his visage. Something weird. At that time he had only the second sky of true God Realm. Bai Ro looked baffled as she uttered uncertainly. Bai Tian's face became solemn. Are you sure? I'm not sure, but it's true that he had only the second sky of true God Realm that year. Otherwise, none of us would have been able to restrain him, said Bai Ro in a worried manner. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she couldn't believe it. Allard. Bai Tian let out a low shout. General Commander, young lady Bai Ro is right. At that time, he had only the second sky of true God Realm. Moreover, he had broken through to his new realm on our steamship as a human body cauldron, said Alchemist Allard, his face grim as if he had just lost his parents. He is such a talented character, and you didn't recognize it to persuade him to join our force. You even let Dark Firmament Divine Nation take him. You fool! Bai Tian shouted in a low voice. Allard and Bai Ro regretted so much. Watching the silhouette standing in the training yard, they didn't know what to say. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Black Horn soared up to the sky. Ice blades danced around him. His god, Domain, shot out, snatching Shi Yen in the air. Countless ice cubes shot out from the raising glacier, fiercely overflowing his god Domain, creating more icicles. At first glance, they looked like a billion ice blades revolving. This threat was formidable indeed. Quick ice windstorm. Black Horn roared. His voice was able to even shake the sky. 10,000 ice blades turned, creating a furious ice blade tornado covering the entire massive training court. The glacier vanished at speeds that naked eyes couldn't see. Countless ice beams shot into the sky, joining the center of Black Horn's quick ice windstorm. People then saw that the whole dome of the sky was covered with sharp, sparkling icicles. Billions of ice blades were about to sweep over the universe. This scene was very frightening. Many low-realm warriors retreated in fright as they were afraid that the ice blades would deviate and hit them, or that the cold chi could seep into their god bodies. Crack! Crack! The ice blade collided. Breaking sounds reverberated in the entire place. The quick ice windstorm had covered the entire training yard. The onlookers couldn't see what was happening in there. Only warriors at the original god realm could see through the cold air of the quick ice windstorm to vaguely see the situation inside the storm. The sharp icicles, ice crystals, ice sabers, and ice beams were wreaking havoc inside the quick ice windstorm. The green stone ground of the training yard exploded. Debris rolled together with the scattering ice pieces. Black Horn guided the quick ice windstorm to fiercely press down to imprison a person. Numerous pieces of icicles, ice crystals, and ice sabers were used, creating the icy power which generated the glacier the second time. Gradually, pieces of rock and ice scattered. The earth-shattering energy tornado ceased, which divided into 5 or 7 parts in the middle of the training yard. a new glacier was formed. The transparent glacier was around 1,000 meters tall and a couple of 100 meters thick. It looked like a giant crystal block. Sure, Yen stood upright in the middle of the glacier. He didn't change his posture, looking like he never moved. However, his god body was confined in the thick glacier. When people observed him, they could see the current cold air streaming continuously through his body. Blackhorn wore a cold visage. Standing on the glacier, he stooped to watch Shi Yen being trapped inside the glacier. He snorted and turned to Feng Ku. "Do I need to continue?" Everybody else quieted down, looking at Feng Ku as if they had agreed to do so beforehand. They also glared at Feng Rao, who maintained a grimace while she stood behind Feng Ku. Barrett grinned, continually raising his voice. If Big Brother Feng Ku doesn't say anything, he agrees tacitly that you can kill him. Do it. Watch out. However, at this moment, Alchemist Jester, who had been silent from the beginning, suddenly felt something. He couldn't help but shout. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. A scarlet flame and a red-orange flame surged vehemently. Inside the glacier, they shot out from Shi Yan's eyes. Within 1 second, the intimidating flames expanded, covering the entire glacier. The burning flame had melted and washed away the extremely cold energy of the glacier shortly. The scorching flames shot out, running on the glacier to reach Blackhorn. Instantly, the flame mounted on his legs and crept all over his body. In just a blink, the furious flame burned Blackhorn's body. He screamed crazily, which shocked everyone. The glacier melted quickly. Shi Yen simply left the ice. A brutal gleam sparkled in his blood-red eyes. He sprang towards Blackhorn. Hiss, hiss. The ear-splitting hissing resounded. Fine space, cracks appeared in the void, as if something was trying to get out of its confinement. Blackhorn discolored as he felt his god soul be constrained by some unknown force. No matter how hard he wiggled, he couldn't get rid of it. He couldn't locate the direction of the attacker. Blackhorn felt so much pain. Starlight gathered, making a broadsword in Shi Yan's hand. The starry night seemed to be reflected in this broadsword, hiding the mysteries of the stars. It then turned into the moving starlight, slashing at Blackhorn. Blackhorn got hit. Starlight sparked from his body as he was blown away. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 bone thorns appeared in the void, stabbing his back. Blood splashed instantly. Shi Yan wore a cold and harsh face. There was no emotion reflected on his face. He continued to chase and bombard his target. Chapter 8:29. Become famous after one battle. Chapter 8:29. Become famous after one battle. Blackhorn's god body trembled in the air like a kite that had its line cut off. However, he didn't fall. The extremely cold chi seeped out from his god body. A thick white mist covered his entire body, creating a thick ice layer. At this moment, Blackhorn looked like a giant ice sculpture, crystal clear and sparkling. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 bone thorns flew rapidly, tearing the dome of the sky. They hissed terrifyingly, pricking Blackhorn's god body. His ice layer was smashed. Blackhorn's god body bled terribly. However, the broken ice and the thick cold chi were lashing around him, protecting his god body. Although he had a lot of bleeding wounds, his foundation wasn't damaged. Blackhorn was a member of the Dragon Horn tribe, a branch of the demon clan. He had an unbreakable body. After he reached the 3rd sky of King God Realm, his body became even more tenacious after countless quenching times. Although the bone thorns were sharp, they could only prick some holes, but not pierce through his god body. The broadsword now had a pair of glorious starlight wings. Shi Yan changed the direction continuously by the mysterious trajectory of the stars in the sky. Flames were generated between his palms, shooting out like rainbows covering the sun. They all aimed at Blackhorn. since Black Horn had cultivated the extremely cold power. When the flaming energy of the vermilion bird True Flame and the Earth Flame seeped into his body, the energy in his body became chaotic. For the time being, he couldn't gather enough energy, which was also why he didn't do anything to resist Shi Yan's attack. Shi Yan knew Black Horn was a powerful warrior. When he attacked, he had to try his best and urge all the powers in his body. In the third sky of Rampage Realm, Shi Yan continually changed his star power and space power, turning them into inexplicable martial techniques. He had used the shooting flames, the space confinement and space blades, and the 3 bone thorns. His attacks covered every direction, just like the thunderstorm, to restrain Black Horn's body. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The violent explosions, which were strong enough to shake the whole place, arose from where Black Horn was hovering. Pieces of ice shattered. Countless ice crystals flew beautifully and sparklingly everywhere. The extremely cold energy twirled around Black Horn. Under Shi Yan's fierce attack, his iron rigid body echoed the sounds of clinking. Black Horn had to drain his power rapidly to create a thick, firm ice shield. A complex series of changes had confused the onlookers. Their clamorous discussions ceased as they concentrated on the battle. Shi Yan had been confined in the glacier. Shortly, powerful flames arose around his body, which broke the ice confinement to fly out. Then he used that flame to seep into Black Horn's god body that made him struggle and prevented him from urging his energy. Then Shi Yan seized the chance to bombard Black Horn, making him struggle more. Black Horn didn't have extra energy or time to counterattack. This series of attacks had stunned people. After a while, they finally reacted, screaming and yelling. Fire power. How can he shift his power? Isn't his main power the Ice Upanishad? Holy moly! I saw the changes in space power. And where did that freaking flame come from? Where does this kid come from? His powers Upanishad are mixed, right? Hey, he can use so many kinds of power. He's cool indeed. Black Horn is suppressed. Too frightening. This outsider is really strong. Yeah, super strong. The onlookers had acknowledged Shi Yan's competence. At the second sky of King God Realm, he managed to suppress Black Horn, which had proven everything. Even Feng Ku, Russell, Jianong, Jester, and the other original God Realm warriors quieted down. They were baffled and frightened inwardly. Barrett's face was stony. He didn't say anything, just gazing at the finished battle. He seemed to be waiting for something. I never imagined that he had become so strong, Cartho acclaimed in the crowd. Barrett must have counted on Black Horn's tenacious god body. Too bad. He didn't know that Shi Yan's god body was also incredibly abnormal. I think Barrett had the wrong plan this time. Yalin and Taimu nodded, speaking in unison. Shi Yan's god body is too strong. We have never seen something like that before. Zi Yao's beautiful eyes rippled with a strange light. Her bright line of sight was glued to Shi Yan, not detracting for even a second. She seemed to forget that Ao Gera, her admirer for years, was standing next to her. That kid is too brilliant. You fool. You didn't attract him. That was your biggest mistake. Bai Tian turned to Allard and Bai Ro, talking with his dark face. He took a deep breath, then asked, You too think about ways for us to overturn this. Allard and Bai Ro exchanged bitter smiles, not knowing how to answer their superior. We should always try, Bai Tian furrowed his brows, asking, After this battle ends, you guys find a way to approach him and see if you can persuade him to join us. That boy will be a true character in our star area. If he works for us, we will have strong support. Father, is he as talented as you said? Asked Bai Ro in a low voice. I've been in the Raging Flame Star area for so many years. I haven't seen a kid with that big of a potential. Bai Tian took a deep breath, his face serious. If we can have him, I won't hesitate to let you marry him." Bai Ro's beautiful face discolored as she was stunned. When she parted from Shi Yan, she had boasted that she would make Shi Yan pay a big price for offending her. And today, to persuade Shi Yan, Bai Tian, her father, was willing to sacrifice her lifetime's happiness to make her marry Shi Yan. How could she face Shi Yan? She had made a big mistake that year. Allard bowed his head deeply. He didn't dare talk as his heart was filled with begrudging and bitter feelings. While the onlookers were clamoring, Shi Yan's body sparkled with starlight. His garnet eyes gazed at Black Horn's god body. In the cold, white mist, their god bodies collided and started to wrestle. The demon clan had tough bodies. After they had condensed the god body, their tenacious bodies would be ranked the first among the other clans. Shi Yan had the guts to jump into the mist and let his body take the impact of Blackhorn's body just to see how powerful his own body was. Boom, boom, boom. Just like the thundering drum beats, the two were entangled with each other in the thick white mist. They wrestled, generating an ear-splitting noise. The explosions echoed unceasingly. After 1 hour, everything gradually calmed down. The thick white mist dispersed, revealing the training yard little by little. The yard was almost torn apart with many deep holes, both big and small. The crystal-clear ice shattered everywhere. The whole scene showed devastation. Shi Yan and Black Horn were both wounded. They stood in the middle of the yard, looking at each other. Black Horn looked tired. Blood dripped from his face. He was powerlessly paled as his legs were shaking. They couldn't help him steady his body. Shi Yan was in the opposite condition. Although he had blood all over his body, his spirit, soul, and chi were still full. His eyes were still bright, as though his power was still full. Black Horn tried to endure for a while before he panted and sat down on the ground. He stared at Shi Yan for a while before stooping his head, talking to Barrett. "I've used all of my energy. I can't take your woman back. The energy of my god body was also consumed. I feel guilty for failing you." When he finished, everybody else gawked. Barrett wore a face that people couldn't see his real emotions. He looked at Shi Yan, then Black Horn. Afterward, he nodded. His figure flashed, and he reached Black Horn, bringing him and soaring up into the sky. They disappeared shortly. As he and Feng Rao had an agreement in front of so many people, and now he failed, he had nothing else to say but to leave. Staying here, he just gave the others the chances to tease and mock him. Thus, Barrett decided to leave quickly. As soon as Barrett and Black Horn had left, the yard seemed to explode with screams, cheers, grunts, and shouts. Many people now had another look as they admired Shi Yan with respect. "Deji, you're right. I admit it now." Kafu had arrived in the middle of the battle. He had watched the last part of the battle. At this moment, he was filled with emotions. "We're lucky that we didn't take action against you. Otherwise, we couldn't have gained anything but our own loss." Bloody slaughter, Ka, Tua grinned evilly. "Of course. If not, would I be that servile to call him my senior? Am I that low of a type of person?" Ka Fu laughed. "Girl, you've chosen a good guy." Feng could talk to his daughter with a smile on his face. "Good vision. Pay attention to him and grab him tight. Don't let him leave you." "I know, father. Do I need a reminder?" Feng Rao shyly talked. Her beautiful eyes were filled with joy and excitement. She balled her fists as she was thrilled. She would never have thought that Shi Yan could have such power and strength. He defeated Blackhorn, a warrior at the peak of King God Realm. He gave her a big, joyful surprise. After this battle, Shi Yan's name had been widely spreading in the land of God punishment. He was no longer a small, anonymous character without a legend. If he works for us, he will bring us great support for our team. If we can find a new star area, we will give him a life star. He is worth this price, said Feng Ku, pondering for a while. Feng Xiao nodded in thrill. This man has endless potential. If he works for us, a life star is worth giving to him. Feng Rao's beautiful eyes showed that she was touched. The happiness on her face became more vivid, as Shi Yan had gained her father and brother's approval. She was happy enough to think about her bright future. She thought that the resentment of spending hundreds of years in the Purgatory Star had been lifted away from her heart. Your Highness, your fortune is really big since you had that kid as your escort. Carthu spoke in a low tone in the crowd. He turned, then continued, I will arrange things so as you can meet him. I hope he won't change and he will still work for you. Otherwise, the land of God punishment will have someone much more intimidating than the combination of Feng Ku, Russell, Jianong, and Ba. That won't be good for the dark firmament divine nation. I don't know if he has changed or not. I don't know if he will continue to be my entourage, either. Zi Yao's face was bitter as she felt that a treasure was sliding away from her. All of a sudden, she became sorrowful. The land of God punishment has so many pirate organizations. But they will have a master in the near future, said Bai Tian, the commander of the Underworld League. He took a deep breath, then said, Little Ro, has this kid had good feelings for you? Bai Ro was stunned. She contemplated for a while, then shook her head. Then let's make him have such feelings, said Bai Tian with a solemn face. Use your beautiful face to charm him. It won't be a difficult task, right? You guys should plan carefully and make him our subordinate. He's the target right after the star map. Pay more attention. Chapter 830. Zi Yao's Secret Bitterness. Chapter 830. Zi Yao's Secret Bitterness. Shi Yan stood upright in the middle of the ice, frowning while his sole consciousness wandered around the clamorous crowd. He was a little shaken. His eyes roamed around the crowd once. He suddenly found something, his eyes sparkling. However, he didn't focus any further on sensing where his sole consciousness had found something significant. Shi Yan and Zi Yao had spent a long time together in an abandoned area of the solar star exploding fragment field, and he had used the life Upanishad to heal her wound, so he was much familiar with her life magnetic field. While battling with Blackhorn, his soul consciousness had become crystal clear. More than ever, he could grasp all the commotions around him, even the tiniest ones. At that moment, Shi Yan knew Zi Yao was here. As Zi Yao was the princess of the dark firmament divine nation, when her identity was disclosed in the heaven punishment city, she would have big trouble. Shi Yan understood this well. Thus, although he could sense Zi Yao's direction, he didn't dare look at her as he was afraid that others would notice. This would reveal Zi Yao's identity. This battle ended as Barrett had brought his warrior away. Feng Ke laughed, and he seemed more lively and joyful. He rose his voice and shouted, My challengers, please leave. You have no more business left here. Leaders who are invited, please stay. I have something important to discuss with you. He had invited the leaders of different forces in the land of God punishment to discuss the new star area. That battle only occurred because Barrett suddenly demanded Feng Rao crazily. As everything was okay now, he wanted to discuss the star map as it was originally planned. Unauthorized people couldn't stay. As Feng Ke shouted, the guards of the Blue Demon at the stone gates started to make people leave. The uninvited warriors of the Heaven Punishment City had to leave under Feng Ke's threat, including Carthu's team and Bai Tian's team. Soon, only the leaders of the other forces, Russell and Jianong, stood on the ground where ice still scattered. They exchanged looks and walked to Feng Ke. However, Jester didn't move, his eyes gazing at Shi Yan as if he had so many things to say to him. Feng Ke was in a good mood, smiling at Feng Rao. The meeting will be very boring. It will not be anything fun. You don't need to join it. Take this fantasy sky ring. It stores around 1,000 top-quality divine crystals. You take Shi Yan to walk around the city and see if you want to buy anything. He just arrived in the Heaven Punishment City to give us the star map. I don't think he had any time to visit anywhere. You should go out and have fun. The meeting will take some time. When there are results, I will tell you." Feng Xiao was also happy. "Little sister, that kid has extraordinary realm and competence. Watch him carefully. After this battle, his name will spread in the entire land of God punishment. We have many strong women here. Don't let them steal your man. Who can be more beautiful than me in the land of God punishment?" Feng Rao laughed arrogantly as she was full of confidence. "Don't worry. I will keep an eye on him. Yeah, we're heading out now." While they were talking, she flew out of the stone platform, slowly descending. She got to Shi Yan and said tenderly, "We should look at some of these areas. Heaven Punishment City has many interesting places and wonderful objects to buy in the shops. Perhaps you would like to buy something." Since his arrival in Heaven Punishment City, Shi Yan hadn't had a peaceful moment. He had visited Ka Tua and Ka Fu for a short period of time before Russell threatened them to leave. Afterward, they had hidden outside of the Heaven Punishment City. Shi Yan hadn't had the chance to walk around this place. What Feng Rao suggested was also what he wanted to do. Also, he needed to walk around the wide streets of the Heaven Punishment City to find and meet Xiao. Shi Yan agreed and walked with Shi Yan out of the training yard to visit the hustle and bustle of the Heaven Punishment City. Two people came to them one after another. The first one was Ka Fu. "My brother leaves me here. I have nothing to do now. Shi Yan, do you want to take a walk with me?" Bloody Slaughter Ka Tua was also invited to the meeting. Seeing Feng Ku and Shi Yan perhaps had a close relationship, he decided to stay and explore for a while. He tacitly asked Ka Fu to stay with Shi Yan to avoid any unexpected events. Ka Fu was an experienced businessman. He knew every precious item and where they sold them in the Heaven Punishment City. If Shi Yan wanted to buy something, with Ka Fu's assistance he wouldn't receive a rip-off. "No need. I'll go with him." Feng Rao let out a low shout to reject Ka Fu before Shi Yan could agree to his offer. "Ka Fu, you should return to your shop and do your business," frowned Feng Rao. Ka Fu was surprised. He beamed a forced smile, but didn't answer her right away. He looked at Shi Yan instead. Shi Yan gave him a slight nod. Ka Fu didn't talk more. He clasped his fist before saying his farewells and disappearing into the hurrying crowd. Another figure approached them. He was the alchemist Jester, the one who should have been staying in the Blue Demon's base to discuss with the other leaders of the pirates. However, he proactively got out to find Shi Yan. "Sage Jester, why are you here?" Feng Rao asked as she didn't understand why he was here. She then introduced him. "This is Sage Jester, the original realm alchemist of our land of God punishment. He has cured Bao Ao and the other two." Shi Yan was shaken. He bowed respectfully to thank the old man. "How great you are, Professor. Without you, I'm afraid my three friends wouldn't have been able to be cured of the flower." Alchemist Jester waved his hands, his face stimulated. "Not a big deal. Pardon me for asking something. Is the flame you use the heaven flame?" "Yes, it is," Shi Yan nodded. He thought he didn't need to conceal this. Jester was shaken vehemently, his eyes sparkling with divine light. "Can you sell your heaven flame to me? Whatever you want, just name a price. As long as you nod, everything is okay." The heaven flames were the foundation of the alchemists and blacksmiths. When a blacksmith or an alchemist had the heaven flame, it would be like a tiger with a pair of wings. The advantage was immeasurable. When the alchemist has the heaven flame, he doesn't need to use the cauldron anymore. The heaven flame was the best cauldron one could ever have. Jester was a talented but stubborn alchemist. He knew about the heaven flames. Thus, when he heard Shi Yan confirm that he had the heaven flame, he was so excited. He wanted to merge the heaven flame into his soul altar, which would sublimate his refining career. "I'm sorry. No matter how great of an offer you can give me, I can't sell it." Shi Yan smiled and shook his head. "As an alchemist, you know how magical the heaven flames are. And besides being a warrior, I'm also a blacksmith. The heaven flame is also important to me. I will never sell my flame. Jester was stunned. Feng Rao was perplexed. You are a blacksmith too? Rubbing his nose, Shi Yan said deliberately, What's weird about that? So you are a low-level blacksmith, I suppose? How else could you go that far with your powers, Upanishad? She instinctively assumed. Shi Yan just smiled and he didn't explain. I know nothing can persuade you, sighed Jester. He pondered for a while, then asked, So can you use your heaven flame to help me refine a cauldron of pellets? Of course. I will pay you sufficiently. Jester asked Shi Yan sincerely. He slightly bent over, his eyes filled with desires. If it's okay, you should help him. Anyway, he saved your friends, Feng Rao added. All right, I can help you once. When? Shi Yan thought and agreed with him as he found nothing wrong with that. Haha, I'm not hurried. I haven't prepared enough. Jester rubbed his hands, his face excited. Then, I won't disturb you guys furthermore. I'm going inside to listen in on the meeting. Shi Yan, remember our deal. When I gather enough materials, I will need your help. Thank you in advance. No problem, Shi Yan smiled, watching Jester returning to the Blue Demon's base. This old man isn't as difficult to talk to as you said. You told me it would be really tough to ask for his help? Feng Rao's face darkened and she put her head down, her eyes looking at the ground. Do you know how much he asked to cure your friends? How much? 50,000 top-quality divine crystals, plus 3 kinds of divine great herbs he prescribed. Feng Rao said bitterly through her gritted teeth. Shi Yan was surprised. Instantly he felt happy, grinning. So he's rich, right? It's good then. When he asks me to help him, I'll make him give half of that amount back. Feng Rao's beautiful eyes brightened. She nodded continually, speaking cheerily. You should treat him that way. They were talking while sauntering around the wide streets, which extended everywhere in the Heaven Punishment City. They lingered in some shops. Shi Yan wandered. He seemed to not be too interested in the strange and rare items in the shops. He didn't want to buy anything. He just visited each shop as if he simply enjoyed walking and watching things. Feng Rao didn't know that Shi Yan wanted to take a walk just to wait for someone. She was secretly happy thinking that Shi Yan wanted to be with her. She didn't hurry. She just acted as a delicate guide taking him here and there. Gradually, they left the rowdy streets to a stream that was north of Heaven Punishment City. There was an arch bridge where they were standing and they watched the murmuring currents underneath. They felt even their hearts quiet down. Right at this moment, Shi Yan's brows suddenly twitched. He smiled and said, I need to use the bathroom. Wait here for me. I'll back soon. Feng Rao didn't doubt him. She blushed, rolling her eyes at him. You bastard. Why did you tell me such things? Just go. You don't need to say it so explicitly. Shi Yan chuckled, turning around and disappearing into a small, desolate alley. In an elegant and quiet front courtyard, a graceful figure was standing under the shade of a luxuriant scholar tree. She didn't face the wide open main gate, talking faintly. I thought you would never come. Your Highness. Shi Yan stopped by the gate and bent his body slightly, his face complicated. I haven't met you since you left the glorious Amethyst Star. It's been a while. Why are you in the Heaven Punishment City? Zi Yao turned around. She had taken off the skin tone mask earlier. Her unparalleled glamour was so enchanting that she could easily take people's souls away. However, deep in her pretty eyes, Shi Yan could see a gleam of bitterness. She said tenderly, Sir Carthu received news saying that the star map appeared in the land of God Punishment, so he came here. And I heard that you were also in the Heaven Punishment City, so I came here to see you. Anyway, I thought that you would be having a difficult time, so I came here to rescue you. I couldn't imagine that you were enjoying it so much here. It was just me who was overthinking and underestimating your competence. I shouldn't have worried about you so much. A gleam of affection crossed Shi Yan's eyes. He quieted down, not knowing what to say. Chapter 831. Bet on your future. Chapter 831. Bet on your future, _ Seeing each other once again, Shi Yan didn't know what to say. After they parted in the glorious amethyst star, Ziyao came to the dark firmament star, while Shi Yan went to the purgatory star to join the extreme purgatory field. On his way, his war chariot exploded, creating the dark, magnetic, deadly explosion, which almost smashed him. He was sure that the one who had attacked him in the dark was Ao Gera. Not long after he arrived in the purgatory star, Ao Guduo suddenly wanted to kill him, accusing him of joining bloody slaughter Katua to assassinate Ziyao. If Leona hadn't stopped him, Shi Yan would have been dead. Both potentially fatal incidents were related to Ao Gera. However, Ziyao still took Ao Gera to the Heaven Punishment City with her. Obviously, she didn't punish him but considered Ao Gera an important chess piece. Perhaps in her eyes, Ao Gera still had a big value, or she was afraid of Ao Guduo's force. No matter the case, to Shi Yan, he couldn't let it go as he was the victim. As long as Ao Gera was with Ziyao, Shi Yan felt annoyed. Your Highness, the Heaven Punishment City is unexpectedly dangerous. If you didn't bring enough forces here, you should leave early, Shi Yan said after a long moment of silence. Ziyao's eyes became gloomier. How about you? Will you go with me? If you expel Ao Gera, perhaps I will. Shi Yan rose his brow. I've almost died twice because of him. If he stays, I can't sleep or eat well by your side. Are you sure he did that? Ziyao said sadly. Shi Yan beamed a faint smile. Even with your wisdom, I don't think you recognize his hostility towards me. No matter what reason you have to keep him with you, I don't feel well with it. I won't fight shoulder by shoulder with him. We'll soon have a fight to the death. Ziyao's face was bitter. Ao Gera has been following me for so many years. Even if he doesn't have any merit, he is dedicated enough. His works in the glorious amethyst star are well done and transparent. I don't have a reason to expel him. Moreover, he has Ao Guduo standing behind him. Can you give me more time? I can't ask you for anything, Your Highness, Shi Yan smiled, but I will remember how you helped him. However, if I deal with Ao Gera, I won't intentionally lower my powers. If he stays in the Heaven Punishment City, I'm not sure if I won't kill him. How about you? What's your relationship between you and Feng Rao? Ziyao furrowed her delicate eyebrows. Shi Yan was surprised. He shook his head and laughed. I think it has nothing to do with you, right? I have the rights to chase after any woman I want. You don't have the right to interfere with my business. Am I right? She's a pirate, Ziyao shouted. So what? Asked Shi Yan deliberately. The pirates of the land of God punishment are the nails stuck in the flesh of the three big forces. They are my enemies. If you stay with her, you are on the opposite side to us, said Ziyao angrily. So what? Asked Shi Yan. Ziyao took a deep breath, beaming a forced smile, but she didn't say anything. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A magical electric magnetic field suddenly expanded from the corner of his eye. Who's that? Carthew's voice came from a stone room nearby. The wind gusted, and a silver silhouette appeared. Sir Carthew, long time no see. Shi Yan bent his body slightly. Carthew nodded. His face was solemn while the wind swirled around him. Boom, boom. The stone gate at the back of the garden blew off. A group of about 10 people got in one by one. Leading them was a bulky man with an aquiline nose and deep eye sockets. He looked sinister, haughty, and unruly. Alchemist Allard and Biro appeared behind him. They were all astounded to see Shi Yan. They assessed him discreetly. Shi Yan was also surprised. He became vigilant, preparing for a sudden battle. By Tian, Carthew and Ziyao screamed in fright. They changed their visages instantly. Bai Tian was a tough character in the Underworld League. He was second to one person, but was greater than tens of thousands of people. He had the second sky of original God Realm, one level higher than Carthu. His family held intimidating powers with several life stars. He commanded a team that had as many hotshots as clouds in the sky. Bai Tian's position in the Underworld League could be compared to Leona's and Ao Guduo's in the Dark Firmament Divine Nation. They were all tyrant characters whose names could break the dome of heaven of the Raging Flamestar area. Carthu, do I look weird? Bai Tian wore an indifferent face, walking as if he didn't care about anyone else. You guys are plotting about the star map, and I wish to join in on this matter. We have the same goal. If you can get here, I can too. You're quick enough. Carthu was surprised, but he gathered himself quickly. He nodded. If we have the same goal, why do you come here? You want to join hands with me to steal the star map in Fengke's hands? Bai Tian beamed a dry smile, shaking his head. I have the same realm as Fengke. It's not easy to defeat him. You have only the first sky of original God Realm, so you can't be of much help. Anyway, you, Russell, and Jianong have the same realm. So, I'm not here to cooperate with you. Oh, if I have to find someone to cooperate, I will be more interested in Leona. Obviously, he implied that Carthu wasn't as strong as Leona. Carthu wasn't enraged. He just smiled. I'm weaker compared to Madame Leona. Yeah, if you aren't here to seek cooperation, so why are you here? Because of him. Bai Tian pointed to Shuryen. His face became solemn as he said, You are Shuryen, right? You and my Underworld League have business. But my little daughter didn't treat you nicely. She was a little bit harsh to you. On behalf of her, I want to apologize. After pausing for a while, Bai Tian turned and glared at Bai Ro, giving her a low shout. Little Ro! Bai Ro's graceful face distorted as if she didn't want to do it. She had struggled in her mind for a while, then bent her delicate waist, saying desperately to Shuryen, I'm so sorry for offending you that year. My apologies. Shuryen, little brother, forgive us, forgive us. Alchemist Allard clasped his fist, his face smiling. Carthu was stunned. Zi Yao was baffled. Sure, Yen didn't understand what was going on. Bai Tian, what are you doing? Carthu pondered for a moment, then asked in a confused manner, Cough, cough. Bai Tian gave a dry cough, taking a deep breath. He looked at Shuryen, talking to him solemnly. Little brother, what do you think about my daughter's appearance? Shuryen, Carthu, and Zi Yao were perplexed. Bai Ro's white neck reddened. She looked at Shuryen embarrassedly. Her bright eyes were filled with anger and embarrassment. She's nice. Her face is beautiful and graceful too. Bai Tian stretched his mouth into a smile, flinging his arm. Then it's good. I want to let my daughter marry you. What do you think? Bai Ro's bright eyes looked like she was about to fire, shaking her head continually behind Bai Tian. She signaled him not to agree. She almost screamed. Carthu and Zi Yao shivered, looking at Bai Tian with disbelieving faces. They didn't know what to say. My daughter is mesmerizingly beautiful. I'm Bai Tian, the great commander of the Underworld League. In any aspect, my status is better than Fengke's, right? Marrying my daughter will bring you fewer troubles than marrying a pirate. What do you think? Bai Tian smiled. He contemplated for a while and then added, Of course, Princess Zi Yao is more beautiful and noble, but I think Du Tianji won't be as generous as I am. He won't allow his princess to marry you. So I think my option is more suitable for you. Don't you think so? Carthu, Shuryen, and Zi Yao gawked perplexedly. Even some warriors standing behind Bai Tian gave odd looks. Bai Ro stood behind Bai Tian, continually shaking her head. She was so worried, trying to signal him to reject her father's proposal. It seemed like she had someone else in her heart, and she didn't want to become someone who can conveniently recruit strong experts for her father. Sure, Yen was astounded for a while. He quietly looked at Bai Tian, then turned to Bai Ro. He took a deep breath. Why? Why did you choose me? Although your realm isn't enough to be noticed, it doesn't mean you will stay that way. I believe that if you can survive, you will become an overlord of a region in the Raging Flame Star area. Bai Tian answered frankly, I will take this bet on your future. Carthu was shaken. His eyes brightened up all of a sudden as he shouted, Bai Tian, you're so tricky. I can't deny that I admire your cunning mind. You're worthy to be the hero of your land. You do have imposing manners. Zi Yao finally reacted and her soft body shivered. Bai Tian was about to make a big bet. He wanted to use his daughter's lifetime worth of happiness and his mighty force to bet on Shi Yan's future. He strongly believed that Shi Yan would become the most outstanding character in the Raging Flame Star area. Thus, he decided that he should persuade and recruit him for his team. He didn't even regret using his daughter because he thought that his bold vision was correct. Shi Yan would become a great overlord in the future. His resolute deeds and imposing manners were terrifying indeed. At this moment, Carthu and Zi Yao understood this course of action. And because they understood it, they felt a chill in their hearts caused by Bai Tian's endeavors. If you marry my daughter, you will belong to my force. I can use all the available cultivating materials to tile your path. I can provide you with whatever you want, said Bai Tian seriously. With your natural endowment, I think you can break to the original god realm very quickly. I believe that you don't need 200 years to gain a slot in the Raging Flame Star area. I don't know if someone else favors you like I do, but I believe that I have the most sincere proposal. What do you say? Can you give me more time to think? Shi Yan suddenly said. From the other side, Bai Ro was still watching him with sharp eyes, trying to signal him to reject her father. Hearing him, her soft body shook as deep embarrassment and resentment sparkled in her eyes. She looked like a tigress about to bare its fangs and tear Shi Yan's throat. Bai Tian gazed at him for a while. He grinned and nodded. All right, I'll give you time to think about it. All right, we won't disturb you any more. Bai Tian said to Carthu and Zi Yao before turning around and leaving. His warriors followed him silently. During Bai Tian's entire proposal, no one in his delegation had uttered a word. Only Bai Ro lagged behind, waiting until her father disappeared. She craned her neck behind the stone gate, rolling her eyes at Shi Yan indignantly. She said through her gritted teeth, Don't dream about his offer. Even if I die, I won't marry you. Then, her graceful body disappeared. At the same time, Feng Rao called for him. Because it took him so long time, Feng Rao got uneasy and came to look for him. Chapter 832. The Mark Reappears. Chapter 832. The Mark Reappears _ Feng Rao screamed anxiously. Sure, Yan didn't linger with Zi Yao. He hurried to leave and disappeared shortly. Bai Tian's delegation left. Ao Gera, Yalin, and Tai Mu weren't arranged to stay in this manor house. Thus, only Zi Yao and Carthu stayed in this garden. After Bai Tian and Shi Yan had left, Carthu and Zi Yao stayed quiet for a long time. They all had devastated looks on their faces. Long after that, Carthu sighed. Bai Tian has guts. He is tough and bold to make such an offer. Zi Yao frowned, saying nothing. Using his daughter's lifetime's worth of happiness to bet on Shi Yan's future. If he wins this bet, he will be rewarded immensely. I can tell you that. Carthu took a deep breath, then said, with his potential, 200 years is enough time for him to become an outstanding hero of the Raging Flame Star area. He could even surpass Bai Tian. If he marries Bai Ro, Bai Tian will put in all of his resources to nurture him. He will grow even faster. So cunning. Bai Tian is very cunning. Zi Yao looked bitter, sighing lightly. She had known Shi Yan for a long time. She knew his potential clearer than anyone else. When they were in the solar star exploding fragment field, Shi Yan had only the true God realm cultivation base. It was shorter than 10 years before he reached the second sky of King God realm. Zi Yao was at the third sky of King God realm for a long time. However, her realm remained the same while Shi Yan continued to progress. He had just defeated the Demon Clan's expert Black Horn, a guy cultivating ice power Upanishad. Zi Yao wondered if she could defeat Black Horn, and she was sure she could not. It meant that Shi Yan had the capabilities to fight her with his own powers and without using external forces. It hasn't been very long. Thinking about all this gave Zi Yao a headache. Ao Gara has Ao Guduo to back him up. Anyway, without this, he isn't as strong as Shi Yan. Carthu took a deep breath, his face solemn. Don't give up. If you miss this chance, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Zi Yao frowned, asking, Uncle Carthu, what do you mean? You know what I'm talking about. I just want to remind you that Shi Yan is no longer an average guy anymore. Bai Tian has shown up because of him. Feng, who will also try his best to recruit him. If you don't secure him, you will lose him forever. Manage it yourself. Carthu sighed, shaking his head. Let's go. Ao Gara and Yalin have been waiting for us for a long time. You should think about it on the way. Oh right, Ao Guduo is about to arrive. But Leona will come too. Keep thinking about what you want your relationship with Shi Yan to be. Zi Yao furrowed her brows and remained silent. She quietly followed Carthu, her face absent-minded. On the lively streets, Shi Yan and Feng Rao were walking shoulder by shoulder. They smiled from time to time. They seemed to be very happy. Look, that shop sells a lot of strange and bizarre items, things we can't find in the Raging Flamestar area. Feng Rao's eyes brightened as she pointed at a shop by the street. She bloomed her smile as if she was excited, turning to look at Shi Yan. If you need to use the bathroom, I can wait for you, but you need to hurry. Feng Rao was hiding something in her words. Her beautiful eyes sparkled. Staying in the Purgatory Star to retrieve the star map proved her patience and subtlety. She was definitely not a fool. In fact, Feng Rao was meticulous and clear-headed. The time Shi Yan disappeared to do his small business was more than she needed. Connecting it to other abnormal things that happened before, Feng Rao knew that he had gone to meet someone. Being a smart woman, Feng Rao didn't expose this or ask him questions. She chose to pretend to not know anything. Anyway, it didn't mean that she wouldn't care. That was why she took the chance to tease Shi Yan. Nah, I'm done. I'm clean now. Shi Yan smiled embarrassedly. He didn't wait for Feng Rao to say more, heading towards that shop. They were both smart people. There were things they didn't need to say out loud to understand it. This shop was around 1,000 square meters, with some square counters that displayed many types of crystals, ores, unknown grass, herbs, and flowers. They even found many pieces of precious leather with natural patterns, beast skeletons, and strange books. Just like a grocery shop, the counters were packed with items. Many of them were strange and unknown. Even Feng Rao didn't know what some of them were. The strange energy fluctuated and rose from some stones, crystals, and beast skeleton, but it wasn't strong or strange. A white-headed, old senile woman dozed off on her chair. Her head stooped and nodded from time to time. She seemed to not recognize that she had some customers checking out her shop. The old woman didn't have a high realm. She just got the third sky of True God realm. It seemed like she was stuck in this realm for many years. And since she couldn't break through, she looked old. She seemed to count her life on this shop with the hope to enter the King God realm. The Raging Flamestar area was vast. People could easily meet King God realm warriors, and sometimes original God realm warriors. However, not all true God realm warriors could break through to the King God realm. Compared to the thousands of billion people in the Raging Flamestar area, the King God realm warriors were rare. Many remained stuck in the true God realm for the rest of their lives. This woman was one of them. She stooped and slept tight, as if she didn't care whether or not someone planned to steal her items or not. She is the oldest woman in our land of God punishment. I think she is several thousand years old. So many years ago, her man was the strongest leader of the pirates in the land of God punishment. I heard that he had robbed the ships near the border of the raging Flamestar area and claimed abundant harvests. However, he had disappeared a couple of thousand years. I think he is dead, and she is still in the land of God punishment to sell goods that he had robbed. I heard that her shop has something we can't find in the raging Flamestar area. Of course, the valuable items were all sold out. What we see here are the leftover items after people have finished selecting and buying. Just normal and useless stuff. Feng Rao explained when they got into the shop. We can just watch. We don't have to buy anything. This shop has something the raging Flamestar area doesn't have. So did anyone buy something good here? Asked Shi Yan. Yes, rumors say that some people had bought the priceless items here, Feng Rao nodded. Of course, it is just a rumor. We haven't seen anything yet. She's been here when my father was just a little pirate. This legend has been told even before that. I heard it from my father. I'm not sure whether it is true or not. Shi Yan was surprised, but he didn't pay much attention. Instead, he just walked around and checked things out. He found many stones and crystals that he didn't even know the name of. Many of the objects didn't have energy fluctuations, so he didn't know what they could be used for. Also, he couldn't tell what kind of beasts those skeletons were because they had been there for quite a long time. He couldn't tell the level or class of those skeletons either. It was hard to tell their values. And he found many small and peculiar toys, which also didn't have a beam of aura or energy. This shop had hundreds of items piled on the counters. Most of them didn't have energy. If they did, their energy was so feeble, which didn't make them worth much. Sure, Yen didn't have any purpose in looking for valuable things here. He was simply curious, wanting to see how the items of the other star area looked like. He just went back and forth between the counters to observe the items, releasing his soul consciousness to sense. A fist-sized, dim, blue stone orb, which didn't have a beam of energy, caught Shi Yan's attention. It was heavier than it looked. This dim blue stone orb looked ordinary. It had no feature that was unusual. It didn't have the natural texture of stone either. However, when Shi Yan sent his soul consciousness into the orb, his star power Upanishad reflected a weak beam of energy fluctuation. This stone orb seemed to have some tiny but magical relation to his star power. Shi Yan was amazed. He quietly picked the dim blue stone orb, put it on the counter, and nodded to Feng Rao. I want the stone orb. He didn't hasten to use his star power Upanishad to sense the mysteries of the stone orb. This place was someone's shop, so it was not convenient. If this orb had something magical and someone else besides him got it, he would have had to pay a big price to get the orb. Okay, continue to see if you want to buy anything else. Feng Rao glared at the stone orb, then shifted her eyes away. She didn't pay much attention to his item. Just like Shi Yan, she crouched to find some toys for herself. Shi Yan continued to rummage through the piles of miscellaneous items under the counter. Those things were strange, but because they didn't have any energy, Shi Yan couldn't use his soul consciousness to check them. Soon he walked to another pile of miscellaneous goods. A small, cold shield suddenly fell into his palm. This one was a pocket edition. It was as big as a human face. It looked exquisite and even lovely. This small shield was blue and brown. It felt cold and smooth in his hand. Shi Yan's soul consciousness sank into it. No energy was reported. The back side of the shield didn't have any pattern or carved formation. Shi Yan just skimmed through it. He threw it away, not paying much attention. Clink, clink. The small shield created some sounds in the pile of assorted items. Shi Yan looked at it, and his face stiffened immediately. On a side of the blue-brown shield showed a mark of 5 blood-red clouds. It was the exact same image as the mark on his god soul's forehead. Shi Yan was startled. He became solemn because, when he had just checked the shield, he hadn't seen any mark on either side of the smooth shield. However, after he had rubbed it and thrown it away, the mark appeared. What was going on? Was it because of him? Shi Yan inhaled, making himself clear-minded. He resumed his normal countenance and picked up the small shield. The mark of 5 blood clouds on the shield faded away when he looked again. However, the shield became colder. Shi Yan was skeptical and perplexed at the same time. He took the small shield, placing it next to the stone orb and nodding to Feng Rao. I also want this. Boy, I'm sorry. We don't sell that small shield, the old woman said in a sleepy voice. The old woman had just woken up. Shi Yan was astounded. Chapter 833. Fei Lan. Chapter 833. Fei Lan. The old woman was still sleepy. She bent her body slightly, then opened her eyes. Her opaque eyes had no light in them. She looked quiet and senile. She had been stuck in the true god realm for many years. She couldn't pass through the king god realm. She seemed to be numb to this fact, losing her faith in her ability to increase her realm. For the rest of her life, she took care of this small shop, waiting for something to happen. People said that she was waiting for her husband, the strongest pirate of the land of god punishment many years ago. He had disappeared near the border of the Raging Flame Star area. Several thousand years ago, that man used to be like Feng Ku, a leader of the pirates in the land of god punishment, whose fame matched his competence. However, he was much stronger than Feng Ku with a more profound realm. His operating area wasn't bound by the Raging Flame Star area. He had stretched his influence to the peripheral areas of the star area. He had often visited the area where ships from other star areas passed by. Perhaps because of his guts and his marvelous powers, he became arrogant, which led to unexpected events. He could never come home from the edge of the Raging Flame Star area. It has been so many years. Many new pirate leaders had risen, including Feng Ku. However, none of them had the force and capability that could be compared to that man. The shop owner, the quiet, senile woman, was the only wife of that man. She stayed in the Heaven Punishment City and sold goods her husband had harvested. Initially, this shop was famous and packed with goods and customers. Since the man had disappeared, it gradually quieted down. Now, the shop was still famous, but it couldn't sell many things. Not many people visited here anymore. People seemed to have forgotten this shop. Feng Rao stopped rummaging through the stuff. She frowned, asking with surprise, Granny Fei Lan, why do you not want to sell it? People called the old woman Fei Lan. Only the powerful characters in the Heaven Punishment City knew her real name. That small shield is a gift my husband gave to me. It is nothing special, but it is a good memento. Fei Lan remembered something, her eyes showing her affection like a vast sea. When he gets tired and comes home, if he finds out that I've lost his gift, he won't feel comfortable. Feng Rao's bright eyes showed that she was moved by the old woman's love. Shi Yan was astounded, looking at Fei Lan with some affection. In their eyes, Fei Lan was a fool who quietly waited in sorrow for a man who had disappeared several thousand years ago in Heaven Punishment City. After so many years, she still loved and longed for him. She even thought that her husband was still alive and that he might come home one day. Although this deep love sounded conservative and foolish, it could touch anybody's heart. Feng Rao was deeply moved. Then forget it. It's okay that you don't want to sell it. How about this stone orb? Will you sell it? The dim blue stone orb was revealed as she opened her white palm. This orb didn't have a beam of energy. In any aspect, it looked like a rare-shaped stone. Nothing in this orb was special enough to make people look at it for more than several seconds. Fei Lan's cloudy eyes observed the dim blue stone orb. She didn't say anything for a moment. Granny Fei Lan, you don't want to sell this broken ball either? Feng Rao was surprised. She started to feel strange. It wasn't the first time Feng Rao visited the shop. Before she had left the Heaven Punishment City, she often wandered here. Usually, toys and trash items in this shop were really cheap. Before today, she had never known that this shop had something that the old woman wouldn't sell. However, Shi Yan had chosen a small shield and Fei Lan said that she didn't want to sell it. And now, she was hesitant in selling this broken stone ball, which made Feng Rao confused. "Ma'am, if you don't want to sell it, it's all right," said Shi Yan with a natural look on his face. His eyes still gazed at the stone orb and the small, strange shield. Fei Lan rubbed her eyes, shaking her head. She sighed, then mumbled, "Take the stone orb. I have to survive anyway. I still have to eat. How many divine crystals do you want?" Feng Rao said, taking out some top-quality divine crystals from her fantasy sky ring. In her eyes, that broken stone wasn't worth a top-quality divine crystal. But if Shi Yan liked it, it was worth the price. She intended to give her 10 top-quality divine crystals, as she felt sorry for the old woman. "Give me the quantity that you think my item is worth." Fei Lan pondered for a while, then lifted her head. However, she didn't look at Feng Rao, but instead at Shi Yan. Feng Rao was astounded. Shi Yan's eyebrows slightly twitched. He kept silent. After more than 10 seconds, Shi Yan's brows stretched. He took a deep breath, then turned to Feng Rao. "How many divine crystals did your father give you?" 1,000. They're all top quality. Feng Rao felt odd. "Give her all of it!" Shi Yan lowered his voice. Feng Rao's soft body shivered. Her bright eyes were skeptical, and she was very confused. It was just a rare-shaped stone ball. In her eyes, it wasn't worth a coin. The energy of a top-quality divine crystal was enough to refill the energy of a king-god realm warrior. A top-grade divine crystal could buy sacred-grade pellets, a charming maid, or rent the training yard for half a month in the Heaven Punishment City. 1,000 divine crystals was a big fortune indeed. In the Heaven Punishment City, only pirates with a strong background force could keep such properties. To recruit Shi Yan, Feng Ku had used his foundation capital. Giving away 1,000 divine crystals, he sure was generous. As Feng Rao knew the value of the divine crystal, she was hesitant and suspicious. "Give it to her," Shi Yan frowned, repeating his words. Feng Rao didn't hesitate anymore. She slipped the fantasy sky ring off her finger, slowly put it on the counter. She was kind enough to remind the old woman, Granny Fei Lan, "This fantasy sky ring keeps 1,000 divine crystals of top quality. Keep it well. Don't show others that you have such a big fortune." If someone else laid eyes on this huge fortune, Fei Lan could fall into trouble because of her true god realm cultivation base. That's why Feng Rao had to remind her. Fei Lan appeared to not listen to her reminder. Her dull eyes were still gazing at Shi Yan. After a long moment, she nodded, handing over the dim blue stone orb, pushing it toward Shi Yan. "It belongs to you now." Pausing for a while, she mumbled, "It suits you anyway." "Thank you." Shi Yan smiled, respectfully put the dim blue stone orb away. He bowed to greet her, then turned to Feng Rao. "Let's go. We shouldn't disturb her more." Although Feng Rao was curious, she just nodded and said nothing more, following him to leave the shop. Fei Lan's line of sight was fixed on Shi Yan from the moment he entered until the moment he left the shop. She pondered for a while, then dozed off again. Why? After they had left the shop, Feng Rao couldn't hold her curiosity anymore. She asked, her eyes confused. 1,000 divine crystals. That is enough to buy a spacious manor in the Heaven Punishment City. Exchanging such a fortune for a trash stone, was it worth it? "I wasn't sure if it was worth it or not," smiled Shi Yan. But seeing her hesitate, I think, perhaps I've picked a treasure. She didn't want to sell the orb because she knew its value. When you gave her 1,000 divine crystals, I didn't see her get excited. She looked begrudging, though. Do you know why? Why? Because she thought that it was too few. Few? She thought that 1,000 divine crystals were not enough. I think that she considered our payment small. Otherwise, she would have stirred up. She even looked begrudging. Anyway, she doesn't need that orb. That is why she sold it to me. Perhaps she has another reason. Shi Yan wasn't so sure. He vaguely felt that Fei Lan should know the magic of that small shield. She might know about the blood mark, too. The reason why Fei Lan agreed to sell the stone orb was possibly related to the fact that he could recognize the value of the small shield. Of course, all of these were just his assumptions. Sure, Yin didn't dare confirm, but he had some strange premonitions. Feng Rao wasn't a fool. She was skeptical because she couldn't see what magic the stone ball could do. She thought it was just a trash stone. However, after Shi Yan had explained, she understood immediately. She felt a little bit shocked. You meant that stone orb has something strange. It has a subtle connection with my star power Upanishad. I can say that it's not just a normal item. I think that it's worth the price of 1,000 divine crystals, and it could be more than that, Shi Yan said after contemplating for a while. Feng Rao's eyes brightened up. You mean Granny Fei Lan knows how valuable the orb is? I think she knows, nodded Shi Yan. But she has only the true God realm cultivation base. If she knows, why doesn't she tell people about the stone and give it a higher price? You should ask her. I can't think of an answer. They were discussing in a low tone. Gradually, they walked into a desolate alley where they saw no one on the street. Shi Yan halted. Feng Rao stopped next to him. The wind ceased. A heavy pressure slowly pressed down from all directions. It felt like a wind wall was pressing down to restrain people. Wind power Upanishad. Shi Yan and Feng Rao exchanged looks. They became solemn, quietly gathering energy in their bodies. From the strange pressing wind, they knew that the incomer had a strong realm. He should be a warrior at the original God realm. Shi Yan's negative energy burst out instantly. His god body appeared, his eyes turning garnet. The negative aura rolled like a windstorm. Shi Yan's dead domain expanded, tearing off the pressure from the wind. Feng Rao didn't say anything. She sat down, closing her eyes to sense the commotion of the wind. She mouthed, using her sound power Upanishad to disorder the threatening force from the opponent's god domain. The incomer had the original god realm and used wind power. He had prepared well with his intimidating power. If they made a mistake, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Their soul altars could be smashed too. Both Shi Yan and Feng Rao were experienced warriors. When they noticed that something was wrong, they immediately gathered all their forces to resist. They didn't dare linger for even a moment. While they were ready to encounter the opponent, a gust of wind shot over from one end of the alley and covered one of them. Chapter 834. The Frightful Invisible Hand. Chapter 834. The Frightful Invisible Hand. The wind blew over like a dust tornado. A gray shadow was suspended in the middle of the tornado, but they couldn't see it clearly. They could only feel a powerful but evil force gushing from him. The gray wind hissed. The massive pressure increased several times, all of a sudden. Instantly, the rock walls of this small alley cracked and exploded. Chips of rock shattered like an intense shower. The wind howled ear-piercingly, running directly into Shi Yan's sea of consciousness like a sharp blade. Shi Yan could feel pain from the god domain. At this moment, he couldn't even gather his consciousness. His thoughts couldn't be sent to the soul altar. His god's soul floated as if it was drawn out of the soul altar above the sea of consciousness. In the wind howl, The immense pressure compressed the air. The smell of burning objects invaded the air. Rocks fell like rain. With energy given by the wind, those chips became as heavy as mountains or 10,000 cattle, and as thick like the sea. Inside the wind god domain, gusts screamed, making everything blurred. The whole sky became an immense gray area. It looked like the mighty heaven was about to rip off everything. Confine! Shi Yan screamed almost crazily. His voice struck the high sky, his face ferocious. Countless space ripples expanded from his god body, raising like the tide of the sea. Shortly, they formed a formation. The sounds of crack echoed in the air like someone was using invisible chains to lash the surroundings. Even the voice couldn't be sent through. Feng Rao sat neatly next to Shi Yan with closed eyes. Her visage was tranquil like water, but her delicate, curved eyebrows furrowed. Her lips parted as she spurted out syllables as sharp as swords. They then fiercely shot towards the blurry shadow in the middle of the gray tornado. Boom, boom, boom. Grumbling sounds echoed continually. Feng Rao used her sound power Upanishad to bombard that tornado. A big part of the gray dust vanished. However, the wind had just halted for a while before starting to revolve fast again. The furious wind rolled, sweeping through everywhere and cleaning each square inch around the man. As Shi Yan had just gathered his energy to condense the god domain and space confinement, his attack was immediately torn apart by the gust of wind. The tornadoes that naked eyes could see rolling in the sky like the axes flew towards them from every direction. The grating, ear-piercing howl brought the energy that nothing could destroy, moving very quickly. The stone tiles on the ground of the small alley rolled up into the sky. The tornado then ground them into dust. The walls exploded and shattered. The tornadoes covered everything as if they wanted to smash all creatures in the area. Feng Rao closed her eyes, frowning while both of her hands made hand seals. She was screaming and shouting unceasingly. Her sound seals exploded, then condensed into lightning ribbons, stabbing the gray tornado. However, they couldn't get through the thick tornado, and she couldn't harm the one hovering inside. A gap between two realms was the distance between humans and gods. This distance couldn't be made up by simply using energy. They couldn't attack the other's god domain or find a weak spot to attack. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 bone thorns appeared in the tornado, trying to attack that shadow. Wind blades appeared in the void like a sea of sharp sabers. The 3 bone thorns could only break some wind blades, but not the person controlling the winds. Boom! Just like the grumbling thunder pressing down, the intimidating invisible wind ropes sprang forward. Shortly after, Shi Yan and Feng Rao were tied tightly. They couldn't even wiggle. The thumb-sized gray wind ropes slowly revealed themselves, lashing around the two like securing the leaf rice rolls. Ow. The fierce screaming of the wind suddenly stopped. The vague figure in the tornado slowly emerged. Fan Yi! Feng Rao couldn't hold in her shouting. You dare come to the Heaven Punishment City? Do you really think that the Heaven Punishment City is a desolate place? That man was Fan Yi from the nice Star Chamber of Commerce, a warrior at the first sky of original God Realm. He had fought Russell in the past, but he was defeated. This wasn't too long time ago, but he dared to visit the Heaven Punishment City. Now he wanted to capture Shi Yan and Feng Rao. This man was brave enough to break the rules of the Heaven Punishment City. What do your Heaven Punishment City's rules have to do with me? Fan Ye's visage was cold and harsh. He said with disdain, We, the nice Star Chamber of Commerce, always wanted to clean up the Heaven Punishment City. You are the dirty scumbags of this star area. You will be eradicated one day. To me, Heaven Punishment City is a city to be destroyed soon. Why should I follow their rules? Among the 3 big forces in the raging flame star area, the nice Star Chamber of Commerce had the greatest resentment towards the land of God punishment. They always wanted to sweep up the pirates. The nice Star Chamber of Commerce was the biggest chamber of commerce in the Raging Flame Star area with strong forces and large business deals. The pirates of the land of God punishment were their archenemies. Those pirates often robbed the nice Star Chamber of Commerce's vessels and sold their stolen goods in the Heaven Punishment City, which resulted in tremendous damage to their profits. If the land of God punishment hadn't had so many hiding spots that the soul consciousness could sense, the nice Star Chamber of Commerce would have already attempted to clean this massive base of pirates. You're attacking two juniors like us. Do you think you're that good? If you have the guts, you should find Russell to take revenge. He's in the city, said Feng Rao with rage. I will. Russell won't escape his death. He must die. No doubt about it. Fan, you beamed a faint smile. But you too have your own value. Where's the empty fantasy crystal? The empty fantasy crystal is a precious item. We had spent a lot to buy it. We can't afford to let a kid steal it. Pausing for a while, Fan, Yi glared at Feng Rao. I heard that Feng cherishes you so much. I wonder if he will use the star map to exchange it for your life. I will give Feng time to consider. When time's up and he doesn't want to exchange the star map for you, don't blame me. While talking, Fan Yi stepped towards Shi Yan and Feng Rao. Swoosh! A gust swept through. A cut suddenly appeared on Shi Yan's neck, just a line away from his artery. A wind blade appeared between Fan Yi's fingers. He said coldly, I want to know where the empty fantasy crystal is. Shi Yan's eyes were garnet. He looked at Fan Yi, parting his lips. I broke it. Fan Yi changed his face. The wind blade between his fingers flew out to cut the artery on his neck. Boom! Just like a collapsing mountain, ruthless force shot out from Shi Yan's body like an erupting volcano. The ash-gray ropes were broken instantly. Shi Yan had urged the power of immortal demon blood in his body. At this moment, Shi Yan became a wild beast that was breaking out of its confinement. His momentum was furious and intimidating. Light sparkled in his garnet eyes. The dead Upanishad was urged. Negative energy turned into a massive dead seal, striking towards Fan Yi. The dead seal was like a giant bloody hand of death. The pungent, thick smell of blood it brought seemed to not disperse easily. It looked like a palm that could smash the whole dome of the sky. The ferocious, formidable energy gushed out together with negative emotions. They affected Fan Yi's soul altar before he could attack Shi Yan. Then, Fan Yi had a hallucination of himself standing in a blood sea. His face became sinister as his murderous aura vented out furiously. Bang! The sky-towering tornado appeared, impacting the dead seal that looked like the death's giant hand. The earth and heaven were shaken. The earth-shattering energy had smashed Fan Yi's barrier into pieces. Beams of energy shelled everywhere else. The tall buildings of more than 100 meters around them exploded by the shock waves. Many warriors were hurt. Fan Yi was still hovering in the air, but he was trembling hard. His face turned into an unhealthy red hue. Shi Yan had condensed his immortal demon blood to create the dead seal, which had the mountain-splitting power. Fan Yi got hit. His barrier created by his god domain was shattered. At the moment the barrier was torn, Fan Yi knew that the experts of the Heaven Punishment City would come quickly, as they must have found the tremendous commotion of this battle. It was impossible to confine Shi Yan to ask for the empty fantasy crystal's whereabouts. This was also true for capturing Feng Rao to ask Feng Ku about the star map. Shi Yan panted, his face savage like an enraged beast that was smelling the scent of blood. Blood light sparkly gloriously in his garnet eyes. The immortal demon blood boiled in his body, generating the endless energy which screamed to get out. Negative energy in his acupuncture points overflowed torrentially, combining perfectly with the god domain generated by the dead power Upanishad. As the dead power was moving in his soul altar, a blood sea vaguely appeared by his body. The thick scent of blood permeated the sky, covering every creature. The ability to suck the vitality from creatures arose silently. While he didn't recognize it, light dots emerged from Fan Ye's body, slowly flying toward Shi Yan's god body in the center of the god domain. Break! Shi Yan took a deep breath. His congested arms tore forcefully, ripping off the wind ropes on Feng Rao's body, releasing her from Fan Ye's wind confinement. Seems like I will have to kill you all. Fan Yi considered for a few seconds before his face turned dark. He wanted to use his realm advantage to kill Shi Yan and Feng Rao. Since he had the original God Realm cultivation base, he hadn't used all of his power in this battle yet. As he confirmed that he couldn't capture Shi Yan and Feng Rao, he was enraged. He decided to kill them all. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The wind rose again. The tornado that could tear the sky formed near Fan Yi. At this moment, Fan Yi seemed to turn into a massive tornado, covering the entire area. His formidable wind power moved furiously. It was several times stronger than the previous ones. Fan Yi continually urged his energy as he wanted to kill them all. However, right when he wanted to open his mouth to announce Shi Yan and Feng Rao's death sentence, he discolored. Both of his hands clutched his neck. His eyes showed extreme fear. His god body was sliding backward rapidly and eccentrically, breaking more than 10 stone buildings. However, he was still being dragged away. It seemed like there was an invisible hand strangling him and dragging him into the void. Fan Yi couldn't do anything. His wind energy scattered fast. Fan Yi had the first sky of original God Realm, but under that force, he looked like a dead dog that was unable to wiggle. Shi Yan and Feng Rao were shocked to see Fan Yi get dragged further away until they couldn't see him anymore. Let's go! Feng Rao cleared her mind, shouting. She held his hand, dashing crazily towards the blue demon's base. Shi Yan staggered and flew after her. However, after being baffled for a while, he turned around to look at the general direction of Fei Lan's shop with a complex countenance. Chapter 835 The Mysterious Hermetic Expert. Chapter 835 The Mysterious Hermetic Expert. _ Fan Yi, an expert at the first sky of original God Realm, was dragged to somewhere out of their sights. They didn't know whether he was still alive or not. The small alley was now a ruin. Smoke and dust swirled in the air as it hadn't dispersed yet. Warriors yelled and cursed, walking through piles of rocks. They shouted while trying to find the one who caused the damage to take revenge. At this moment, to prevent themselves from being ambushed by Fan Yi, Shi Yan and Feng Rao were moving quickly towards the blue demon's base. Dust and rock chips still scattered in the air. Bai Tian, the great commander of the Underworld League, Bai Rou and Allard were standing in a small cottage at the other end of the ruined alley. They looked at the cloud of dust with heavy and yet strange eyes. That sudden force was so terrifying. Allard took a deep breath, his face pale. He instinctively looked at Bai Tian standing next to him. Master, was that Feng Ku? Feng Ku. Bai Tian shook his head. He's in the Blue Demons discussing the star map. He doesn't have free time now. Moreover, he doesn't have such power. Even for me, if I wanted to subdue Fan Yi and make him lose the strength to resist like that, I wouldn't be able to. No need to mention Feng Ku. Although they were both at the second sky of original God Realm, Bai Tian considered himself one level stronger than Feng Ku. His confidence stemmed from his strength. Even Bai Tian, who was at the second sky of original God Realm, couldn't explain the immense force that they had just witnessed. How strong was that person? Allard and Bai Rou contemplated, their faces solemn. Seems like it's true. The rumor saying that the Heaven Punishment City has some hermetic experts. Bai Tian's eyes sparkled with strange light. he continued faintly. Although the three big forces have joined hands to sweep over the Heaven Punishment City many times, we can't uproot the space pirates here. Besides the forbidden lands around, perhaps there's another reason. Hearing him, Allard and Byro paled. Father, are you saying that someone stronger than you is staying in this area? Byro shouted slightly, her face disbelieving. Only Du Tianji of the Divine Nation has the third sky of original God Realm cultivation base. In the Raging Flame Star area, we have the only other three at the third sky of original God Realm, right? We've known just the three of them, Baitian frowned, but we don't know who is hiding. Who can be sure that there aren't more? Warriors in his team discolored in fright. Anyway, what surprised me wasn't the hermit in the Heaven Punishment City. Baitian contemplated for a while, then lowered his voice. I'm more surprised at Sher Yan's real competence. As he said that, Byro and Allard were shaken, remembering his strength. Obviously, he didn't use all of his powers in the battle with Blackhorn. Since Fan Yi wanted to kill him, he had stirred up the potential of that young man. He had forced him to show his real competence. I think that even if the hermetic expert didn't give him a hand, he still had the strength to battle. Baitian took a deep breath, divine light shooting out from his eyes. In fact, he has only the second sky of King God Realm cultivation base, while Feng Rao has the first sky of original God Realm. The young man is incredibly strong. We must recruit him to our team. Allard and Byro nodded solemnly. Sher Yan and Feng Rao flew rapidly towards Feng Ke's manor in the Heaven Punishment City. Seeing his grand palace, they finally calmed down. In this place, the other experts also felt the commotions of a battle inside the Heaven Punishment City. They paused their meeting and came to the training yard where Sher Yan and Blackhorn had battled, discussing clamorously. As soon as Sher Yan and Feng Rao appeared, they drew the attention of everyone else. Feng Ku on the stone platform still sensed something with his eyes closed. He seemed to not notice that Sher Yan and Feng Rao were back. Master Russell, your best friend Fan Yi is in the Heaven Punishment City. He attacked us. Sher Yan shouted when he arrived and hadn't had time to steady himself. Russell's face got colder, then became glorious with the brutal deed. I could feel the familiar energy. It is him. This is excellent. His figure melted like the quicksand merging into the ground. He disappeared shortly to find Fan Yi in the city. Feng Ke opened his eyes, his eyelids twitching. Father, Fan Yi appeared while we were walking down the street. He wanted to capture me, to blackmail you. When we were about to fall, someone saved us discreetly. Feng Rao explained the situation simply. Feng Ke listened to her attentively. Until she finished, he nodded. You guys go have a rest. I'm going to search for Fan Ye's whereabouts in the city. I won't let him go comfortably. Are you all right? Bloody Slaughterer Ka Tu-Ah quietly approached Sher Yan from the crowd of the pirate leaders. I'm okay, Sher Yan smiled, nodding to greet the others before leaving with Feng Rao. We expected earlier that experts of the three forces would try to interfere. It is not strange that Fan Yi came here. Anyway, he was a bit hurried. Ka-Tu-Ah took a deep breath. He pondered for a while, then waved his hand. I'll call it a day. You guys should prepare yourself. In the coming days, I'll summon you guys again for a detailed plan. After they bid farewell and gave some advice, the leaders of the pirates left. Feng Ke returned to his secret chamber and sent his message. Not long afterward, Feng Rao entered the chamber after she had arranged everything for Sher Yan. This secret chamber was sealed with many layers of barriers and restrictions. No one could eavesdrop their conversation. Little Rao, you said that someone had helped you guys when you were in trouble. Do you know who that person was? Feng Ke asked with a serious countenance. No, I don't. Feng Rao shook her head. That person seemed to grab Fan Ye's neck and drag him away. Fan Yi couldn't even resist. It was so terrible. Feng could put on a serious face. That person is much more dangerous than what you think. Even your father. I don't have such powers. Feng Rao was scared. Is that person at the third sky of original God realm? How could it be? Since when did our heaven punishment city have people with such mighty powers? It's possible, Feng forced a smile. There is something that you don't know. Throughout several thousand years, every time the heaven punishment city met a disaster or there were enemies that couldn't be resisted, we always solved it inexplicably. The last time it happened was 500 years ago. The headmaster of the Li family of the 9-star Chamber of Commerce came here, intending to sweep away the heaven punishment city and destroy the pirates. When that happened, the heaven punishment city bore heavy damage. The city was destroyed. Many pirates got killed. At the moment we thought that the heaven punishment city was about to be demolished, the headmaster of the Li family died for an unknown reason. His experts were also killed unknowingly. Feng took another deep breath. The heaven punishment city should have collapsed. But the Li family's experts all died and we won the war easily. Pausing for a moment, Feng said with a vague countenance on his face, "It has happened similarly several times." Feng Rao was astounded. "Father, are you saying that we have an invincible hermetic expert in the heaven punishment city? Someone that you can't even sense? If that person's realm is higher than mine, I won't be able to feel anything when he or she conceals his or her aura," nodded Feng Ku. "The leaders of the 3 big forces also know about this person. That's why we were able to stand strong for so long. This mysterious person is the reason why we have not been uprooted yet. Otherwise, do you think that the 3 forces would have spared our lives? Wouldn't they have tried to come and destroy us one more time?" Feng Rao kept silent. "Today, that person suddenly attacked Fan Yi to help you and Shi Yan. However, I'm not sure if this person wanted to help you or Shi Yan." Feng frowned, then asked, "Who did you guys meet?" "Jester, Kafu, and Granny Phelan. And he had left somewhere before that. I think he went to meet someone, but I didn't accompany him." "I don't know who he had met," answered Feng Rao. "Jester and Feng Ku, it would be impossible for them to have helped you. Phelan, she has only the 3rd sky of true God realm. She looks old and quiet. I have never seen anything strange surrounding her. Her mind seems to not be lucid. It's impossible regardless. Perhaps it was someone that Shi Yan had met." "So that person had helped you guys because of him?" Feng Ku changed his visage. He pondered for a while, then continued. "He's not a simple man. Little Rao, if you can bind him with your love and make him work for us, he will be of great support to us in the future." Feng Rao smiled naturally. "Yeah, you should go. I need to think more." Feng didn't ask further, tenderly telling his daughter to leave. Feng Rao left immediately. Sure. Yen lay on his side on the windowsill in a spacious stone room. He was watching people moving in the heaven punishment city while he caressed the blue stone orb he bought from Fei Lan's shop. His eyes gradually brightened up. A flow of soul consciousness was sent to the blue stone orb. The stone orb didn't have any halo, as it was just a natural stone ball that had no energy fluctuation. Shi Yan frowned, but he didn't hasten. He observed the stone orb for a while. All of a sudden, he urged the star power Upanishad. His soul altar moved slowly as he used the energy of the star to see what was inside the stone orb. At the same time, his chest sparkled with star dots. Those light dots then flew out like fireflies, entering the stone orb. The star power moved as his soul was carving the trajectory of the stars in the sky. He seemed to create a subtle and magical connection with the starry sea of the sky. After the star energy had been poured into the stone orb, it seemed like the defense inside the orb was cleaned up. Gradually, finger-sized small islets appeared on the orb. Boom! Shi Yan's sea of consciousness was shaking uncontrollably. Starlight started to lash around his left hand, the hand that was holding the stone ball. His soul altar had formed a subtle and magical connection with the ball. The starlight in the immense starry sea showered like rain, gathering inside the stone orb. Dazzling light suddenly shot out from the eyelets in the stone orb with a terrifying, piercing power. Boom, boom, boom. When the light hit the rock wall, it pierced through the wall. The window where he was standing exploded. His spacious stone room was prickled as many beams of light shined in different directions. The light pierced through the wall as if someone was pinching and breaking the dried tree branches. Screams of fright and astonishment arose under the room. Many warriors of Feng Ke's force stormed upstairs to see what was happening. Shi Yan was stunned. His eyes were brighter as he caressed the orb while it continued still shooting light everywhere. The corners of his mouth curved into a smile. Chapter 836 Fusion. Chapter 836 Fusion _ The dim blue stone orb was now as dazzling as a star, and it generated a flow of rolling star energy that surged vehemently. Starlight still fell countlessly from the immense star area into the stone orb like rivers flowing into the vast sea. Holding the stone orb, Shi Yan released his star power Upanishad, creating a special connection with the stone orb. All of a sudden, beams of glorious starlight started to swirl around Shi Yan's god body, covering him shortly. At that moment, he looked like a cocoon covered in starlight. His entire body was as brilliant as a diamond that people couldn't directly look at. The silver starlight energy fell from the sky rapidly, flooding the shattered stone chamber and making it look like the room sunk into the galaxy. Feng Ke, Feng Shao, and Feng Rao went to the place, as they had also sensed the tremendous commotion in this room like the other pirates had. They floated outside of Shi Yan's window, peering into the room with great astonishment. A glorious cluster of light bobbed in the galaxy inside the room. It was so blinding that people couldn't look at it very well. The starlight was so magnificent, and it was the most eye-catching star in the sky. The fierce star energy fluctuated in the stone room. Shi Yan's god domain had turned into a miniature version of outer space. It continued to absorb the starlight from the sky, making his god body more terrifyingly dazzling. What's that? Feng Ke's eyes sparkled. She couldn't help but turn to Feng Rao. Shaking her head, Feng Rao was also bewildered. I don't know what's going on. His powers, Upanishads, include star power. Feng Ke remained silent. Not space power and fire power? Feng Shao was surprised. He doesn't cultivate fire power. Space power is just one kind of his powers Upanishad, explained Feng Rao. Feng Ke and Feng Shao were stunned. He's comprehending the star Upanishad. At this moment he shouldn't be disturbed, said Feng Rao uncertainly after being hesitant for a while. Feng Ke nodded. His face darkened as he shouted to people floating near them. Go away, all of you! Don't bother our little buddy. Those onlookers flew away, listening to him. Shortly after, only Feng Rao, Feng Ke, and Feng Shao stayed. Girl, how many secrets does this boy have? Do you know them all? Feng Ke beamed a forced smile. I don't know why I always feel that he is very dangerous. Would he be able to ruin our plan? I don't know how many secrets he keeps either, Feng Rao shook her head, but I know that he won't become our enemy. Feng Ke contemplated, staring at Shi Yan for a while, then nodded. You stay here and watch over him. I have some important stuff to do. Little Shao, follow me. Then he and Feng Shao disappeared. Feng Rao stayed alone in this place, watching Shi Yan while her beautiful eyes twinkled. Starlight cocooned around Shi Yan, making him a shining pupa with fierce starlight power. It seemed like he could affect the galaxy out there, dragging countless beams of starlight to gather within his god body. This condition of his had lasted for a long time. Eventually, starlight stopped falling into the room. The starry sea created by the god domain also disappeared. Finally, Shi Yan's body was revealed. Everything resumed in its normal state. He sat indifferently on the ground, his breathing steady. He closed his eyes like he was cultivating. However, the dim blue stone orb he had held in his hand had disappeared unknowingly. The light cluster of essence chi in his lower abdomen overflowed with starlight. It looked like a marvelous nebula had formed in his lower abdomen, which was radiant under his skin. A long time later, his lower abdomen appeared normal. There was no glorious light anymore. When that happened, Shi Yan woke up. His eyes were now as brilliant as the stars and as dazzling as diamonds. What happened to you? Feng Rao asked. Stretching the corners of his mouth, Shi Yan stood up deliberately. He concentrated on his body. His eyes became brighter. The star martial spirit in his heart had disappeared. He didn't see the blue orb anywhere either. However, besides the crystal essence Chi ancient tree, he now had an immense nebula containing an extremely brilliant star in the vortex in his lower abdomen. As the star martial spirit and that blue stone orb had absorbed many beams of starlight, they fused together and became the nebula and a star in the vortex in his lower abdomen. This star wasn't just an illusion. Shi Yan used his soul consciousness to sense that it was actually a star in outer space. It was massive with marvelous secrets hidden within. The hazy and immense nebula was a galaxy with many stars scattered around, as well auras of the moon and the sun, which was generated from the star martial spirit that Shi Yan had nurtured for years in his heart. And the dim blue stone orb had become the most dazzling star in this galaxy. As his thought flickered, he gathered the energy. Earth and heaven energy flowed into the vortex in his lower abdomen after being refined, flooding the essence Chi ancient tree. At the same moment, invisible starlight from the sky had also gathered when he was urging earth and heaven energy. Beams of starlight rolled into the nebula, congregating with the broken stars and twinkling stars there. His thought changed. Pure essence Chi circulated from the essence Chi ancient tree. Meanwhile, crystal clear star power was generated from the nebula, turning into a cold and transparent stream of stars running through his veins. A fiercely sharp beam of starlight shot out from his finger. The nebula was spinning inside the vortex in his lower abdomen, becoming another fountain of power like the essence Chi ancient tree. He thought that he could absorb and use the energy of the galaxy easily. The misty nebula seemed to be a living thing. It was moving unceasingly in the vortex. Shi Yan felt an abundant energy source from that glorious star. He felt that as soon as he urged the mysterious power of the star Upanishad, he would be able to use a considerable amount of energy from these things. When he gathered energy, the nebula could achieve even more things. It could absorb the starlight in outer space to increase the energy stored in the nebula. He believed that when he fought some warrior, and even when his essence Chi ancient tree was withered without a single beam of essence Chi, he could still use the star energy from a nebula to continue this furious battle. The nebula had become another source of his energy, which could gather and supply energy marvelously. All of these were related to the dim blue stone orb he got from Fei Lan's shop. Shi Yan was sure that the stone ball was a star-class rare treasure. "I'm fine. I feel pretty good. You don't need to worry." Shi Yan smiled and comforted Feng Rao. "It's all right. I'm studying the star, Upanishad. Today I received something nice. Oh right, I want to find Katua to do something. After my business with him is done, I will find you. Can I go with you?" Feng Rao asked with hopes. Shaking his head, Shi Yan frowned and said, "Katua doesn't want people to intrude his private space. Don't worry. I should go there to check on Bao Ao and the others. Your father is busy with the star map. You should stay here to help him. When the leaders gather to depart, I will come with Katua." "All right then. You should be careful. The land of God punishment is not safe now. Don't let stealthy people ambush you. Feng Rao knew that Shi Yan had something he didn't want her to know. She wasn't dumb enough to ask him, though. If you don't need to get out of the city, then don't do that. Outside the city is surely not safe. Barrett doesn't like you. If he knows that you went back out to the city, he will attack you. You should understand this. Okay, I got it, Shi Yan smiled. I'll be back soon. Don't worry. Everything will be all right. Then he sprang out of the room and landed on the large street of the Heaven Punishment City. He blended and disappeared into the crowd shortly. Feng Rao knew that he wanted to take action alone. Naturally, she wouldn't be like the other stupid women sticking on him all day long. Although she was a little bit worried about him, Feng Rao stayed back, frowning and thinking of unexpected things that could happen to him. Shi Yan appeared in the flow of people moving in the city, then accelerated. He crossed and shuttled between some remote streets, going further away. That blue stone ball had helped him big this time. Not only had it helped create the nebula in his lower abdomen, it had also given him the chance to understand the star Upanishad better. He vaguely felt that perhaps he would enter the third sky of King God realm shortly after using the star power Upanishad. Shi Yan continually changed directions. After a while, he stopped. Situated in front of him was a lonesome shop, but it wasn't Kafu's. The main door of this shop was open. It was just one day ago he had visited this shop. It was Fei Lan's. Fei Lan wasn't in her shop, but the door was open. The spacious shop still had piles of stuff on the counters. Unexpectedly, the small shield was there too. It seemed like Fei Lan didn't treasure it much. Sure, Yan raked through the shop, then stopped at that small shield. His eyebrows twitched. He took a deep breath before dragging a wooden stool to have a seat. He closed his eyes to rest, waiting for someone or something. 1 hour later, sounds of limping steps arose from the rear garden of the shop. Fei Lan was walking heavily with her cane, her face senile and quiet. She glared at him with her smoky eyes, talking tenderly. "Why are you here? I told you that I don't sell that shield." Shi Yan stood upright, bowing to her with respect. "Thank you, precursor." "You thank me? For what?" Fei Lan rubbed her eyes, sitting in her usual seat. She slightly lifted her head, revealing her wrinkled neck and asking suspiciously, "Thank you for saving us, and thank you very much for the stone orb." Shi Yan was still bending his body and looking at the old woman with his bright eyes, his face serious. "Save you?" Fei Lan sneered. "You're wrong. My realm is too low. I couldn't save you. That stone ball isn't something precious, either. Anyway, you paid me 1,000 divine crystals. You don't need to thank me. You bought it." Shi Yan smiled, didn't chase her more. "I want to know what that stone orb is. Please enlighten me." "A star nucleus," said Fei Lan. "A star nucleus? What is that?" Shi Yan asked seriously for more information. "You've been cultivating star Upanishad, but you don't know what a star nucleus is." Fei Lan's eyes were odd. She pondered for a while, then explained. "Its meaning is just as it is named. The star nucleus is the nucleus of a star, the heart of a star, the source of the star power. The star nucleus functions like the heart of a warrior or the essence Qi ancient tree. It's the fountain of powers." Shi Yan's eyes brightened up. Chapter 837, The Big Scarlet Shield. Chapter 837, The Big Scarlet Shield _. The star nucleus was a precious star-class treasure, much more precious than the star itself. The most marvelous and exquisite thing of a star in the sky was its nucleus. Fei Lan explained to Shi Yan the mysteries of the star nucleus. She felt strange as Shi Yan didn't know such information, even though he was cultivating star power Upanishad. He was stupid in her eyes. Shi Yan was amazed. He beamed a forced smile as he didn't know how to answer her. He came from the Grace mainland where not many people cultivated the star power. He knew nothing about the unusual things related to star power. He had just cultivated his power ignorantly because his knowledge in this aspect was really poor. Even in the raging flame star area, star power Upanishad was also rare. Not many people could successfully cultivate it to the acme. He contemplated for a while, then looked at Fei Lan. Precursor, how did you know so clearly about it? And with your cultivation base, how could you know that I'm cultivating star power from the moment you met me? How could you know that the star nucleus is good for me? This confused him a lot. It was also the reason why he thought that Fei Lan was the one who had possibly saved them yesterday. Even the normal warriors of the raging flame star area weren't familiar with the star power Upanishad, let alone an old woman at the true God realm. But she knew he had star power at first glance. Why would he not be suspicious? Even if I haven't eaten pork, I've seen pigs running, okay? Anything strange about it? Fei Lan's misty eyes gradually brightened up. I've been living for so long. Although I can't break through my realm, my knowledge of powers Upanishads is much more profound than yours. Warriors cultivating star power have a distinctive aura. Ordinary people can't sense it. Anyway, it's not strange that I know it. Shuryen just smiled. He didn't want to probe her further. Anyway, the doubt in his heart couldn't easily leave like that. As Fei Lan didn't want to tell him, he wasn't thick-skinned enough to ask her more. My body has some changes. After hesitating for a while, Shuryen continued. The star nucleus has fused with my god body. A nebula and a star have been formed in the vortex in my lower abdomen. Could this cause a problem? This is the reason why he comes here. The star nucleus and the star martial spirit had fused into one. Together, they created a marvelous nebula in his lower abdomen, which increased his absorbing star energy more than 5 times. At the same time, he felt so comfortable when using star energy. However, he wasn't sure if any problems could arise from this situation. He was tense and he was worried a lot. Fei Lan's eyes got a bit brighter. She gazed at him, pondering. After a while, she muttered, You got the nebula. Yes, I formed a nebula, but I'm not sure how it was formed. I worry that it can bring some backfire or any danger I should be concerned, answered Shuryen. What danger could it be? Fei Lan pursed her lips. You lucky boy. You have formed the nebula that easily. Did you know the subtle mysteries of the nebula? Don't worry. It won't harm you. It will fuse perfectly with your star power Upanishad. As the nebula is formed, it means your star Upanishad is on the right track. If you continue cultivating, you will gain excellent attainment. The nebula is similar to the essence Qi ancient tree in your body. They are the nuclei of your God body, the fountain of your powers, which are perfect for enhancing your powers. I got it, Shuryen felt relaxed. He suddenly calmed down. Nothing harmful to me, right? No. It's a necessary step that everyone who cultivates star Upanishad must experience. Fei Lan gave a faint smile. Good. Your 1,000 divine crystals are well spent then. I think so. Shuryen smiled, then quieted down as if he was musing on something. After a while, he turned away and walked to the door and pulled the stone door closed. People from outside wouldn't be able to see what was happening inside the shop now. Fei Lan frowned while looking at him, but she didn't stop him as though she wanted to see what he wanted to do. After closing the door, Shuryen took a deep breath, his face becoming serious. He walked to Fei Lan, his eyes glaring at the small shield. He lowered his voice. Precursor, do you know what mysterious lies with that small shield? Fei Lan's face was calm, not reflecting any strange emotion of hers. She shook her head, not really. Can you let me see it? I won't buy it. I just want to observe it for a while. I ask for your permission, Precursor. Shi Yan asked with a sincere and stern countenance. Why? Fei Lan furrowed her brows. Perhaps I can figure something out. Please allow me to do this. Shi Yan was persistent. Fei Lan slowly moved her tired body, frowning, walking toward the pile of miscellaneous stuff. She picked up a small shield. Hesitating for a while, she handed it to Shi Yan. You can look, but you can't take it away. Although this small shield is not a valuable thing, it has a special meaning to me. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I won't take it out of this shop. Shi Yan agreed immediately. He studied the small shield with bright eyes. This small shield was made of an unknown material. It wasn't gold or jade, but it felt so heavy and cold in Shi Yan's hands. There was no pattern or carving on either side of the shield. It looked pretty ordinary. Caressing the small shield, Shi Yan closed his eyes to use his god's soul and sense. The soul altar slowly spun. The strange mark on the glabella of the god soul floating above the soul altar slowly appeared. 5 clusters of blood-red clouds were visible as if a strange energy was seeping out. This plain shield didn't glow, but some patterns started to appear on one side of the shield. Then a mark of blood-red cloud emerged on the outer side of the shield. The 5 clusters of red clouds on the shield and the ones on his god soul's forehead were identical. Although they had no halo or energy fluctuation, they gave the impression of a wicked and eccentric thing. They were like 5 garnet eyes, sneaking on people and making them irritated. Swoosh! A deadly energy bloomed from his fingertip. The gray, misty energy was poured into the blood mark on the shield. Boom! A garnet light shot out from the mark. The small shield buzzed and hissed. Shortly after, the small shield became larger. Now it was 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. The garnet mark covered one side of the shield, glowing in a blood-red halo. The other side of the shield now had countless exquisite and complex patterns. Apparently, it was a magical formation that hid a wicked energy that couldn't be sensed. A fine handle slowly appeared on this side. It seemed like the handle was here, so the user could lift up the shield. A red light that wasn't different from the halo of the blood vein ring radiated from the garnet mark on the shield. 5 clusters of cloud arrayed in a pentagon. From a distance, it looked like a giant, bloody mouth that could swallow all kinds of light. Crack! The massive shield fell, smashing the firm stone ground of the shop. 2/3 of this shield sank into the ground like a sharp sword. Only a small part of it remained visible. Shi Yan was stunned. This massive shield was as heavy as 1,000 cattle. It could be compared to a mountain that was 1,000 meters tall. Shi Yan couldn't hold the shield. The moment it grew larger, it sank directly into the ground. Fei Lan stood behind the counter. Her eyes looked heavy with deadly qi. They flashed, then resumed the normal status. She looked at him quietly, revealing no strange signs. She didn't say anything, either. She just looked at him quietly and indifferently as though none of this was related to her. Taking a deep breath, Shi Yan reached out to grab the handle of the shield, trying to lift it up. Hey! Shi Yan roared. The power of his entire body rocketed. His muscles and veins erupted like the volcano. The pure energy in his body increased massively. Boom! He could only lift the shield 1 meter high before he had to put it down. The shield directly sank deep into the ground, only a small part remaining above the ground. Shi Yan also sank into the ground. Half of his body pierced through the ground as if the rigid ground was a block of tofu that was unable to hold him up. Stone and rocks scattered. With the energy in his body, he couldn't lift up the shield, which had just enlarged. It even resulted in his body being pressed into the ground. How heavy was this large shield? Shi Yan was frightened, gasping for his breath. He felt so terrible. At the second sky of King God Realm, his body was tenacious. The energy he could urge could be compared to the peak of the king god realm warriors. However, he couldn't lift up this shield. Was it even heavier than a 10,000-meter tall mountain? Can it be as heavy as a real star? Sure, Yen had an unknown fear in his heart. The user of this shield could control it with ease. He could even use the energy to make the shield fly around. What kind of ability and energy did the user have to control this massive shield? He was sure that even the warriors at the original god realm like Carthew or Russell couldn't dream about controlling the shield as they pleased. Perhaps Leona could try, but it was unknown whether she could use it or not. Sure, Yen was baffled. He dragged himself out of the hole, taking several breaths to wake up his mind. After a while, he looked at Fei Lan, saying nothing. "Don't look at me. I didn't know it would turn out like that. I didn't know this shield could be such a strange thing." Before it transformed, the small shield was relatively light, Fei Lan said. "I saw the blood mark on the shield. I think it is related to me, somehow," said Sure Yen seriously. "Yeah, I can see that. If you weren't related to the shield, it would never have transformed." Fei Lan smiled inaudibly. "But I can't sell it to you. You should shrink it and put it back in the pile for me. I'm not interested in your secrets. If you don't want to rob it from me, just leave. I have nothing to tell you." Sure Yen was astounded. Chapter 838 The Dark Blood Sunset. Chapter 838 The Dark Blood Sunset. Anusur. I'm old and my realm is low. I just want to live and wait peacefully for my man to come back. I don't want to get involved in unnecessary troubles, said Fei Lan faintly. Okay, I'm sorry for bothering you. Sure Yen took a deep breath, then urged the energy in his body, trying to use the mark on his god soul to connect to the big shield. A blood-red light arose in his sea of consciousness. At the same time, the big shield also radiated a blood-red halo. In the next moment, it resized into its pocket version. The blood mark on it disappeared. The shield was now just a normal item. Sure, Yen picked up the small shield silently. This time, it was as light as a feather. He carefully placed it back on the pile of the miscellaneous items. He turned to Fei Lan and bowed to thank her before turning around and walking away. Fei Lan stooped and didn't care about him as if she had already dozed off. Getting out of the shop, Sure Yen frowned while standing on the empty street. He turned around and looked at the shop again and sighed, shaking his head before leaving. After several steps, he saw a graceful figure covered entirely. Even the face was in black garments. This person was walking towards him. The person in black also saw him. The gentle body paused for a while before crossing him and walking towards Fei Lan's shop. Sure Yen was surprised. He turned around to look at that figure in black. He frowned as he felt that something was familiar about that person. However, as he couldn't see that person's face or realm, he didn't assume much and just headed to Kafu's shop. After Sure Yen had left, the one in black also stopped, turning around and looking at the direction he had disappeared in as though this person was trying to be sneaky. Shortly after, that person in black continued her trip to Fei Lan's shop. As Fei Lan was closing her eyes resting, she was shaken all of a sudden. Her misty eyes brightened for the first time. After the one in black entered the shop, the thick stone door closed inaudibly. The entire shop fell into a lightless and gloomy ambience. This person didn't seem to like the light. This person pulled her black veil off her head, revealing her frightful appearance. Her dark green eyes looked at Fei Lan, talking in a soft tone. "Auntie, you've just met him." She was the leader of the 5 feudal vassals of the Dark Firmament Divine Nation. She was the regimental commander of the Bloody Legion, Madame Leona. Fei Lan sat behind her counter, her face unchanged. She nodded and said yes. This is the second time. Leona's eyes brightened. "Auntie, then have you told him yet?" "Told him." Fei Lan's face was mocking. "Why do I have to tell him? What does it matter to me?" Leona frowned. looking at the broken ground inside the shop and the small shield atop the pile of miscellaneous items. That shield belongs to him. You should give it to him. Why should I give it to him? Fei Lan gave a light snort. This is what Uncle asked you to do. It was his wish, said Leona in a heavy tone. It's your dark blood, sunset family's mission. It's not my mission. I have nothing to do with it. Fei Lan put on a cold visage. When that devil gave me this that year, he didn't say that I had to fulfill the mission of your dark blood sunset. He hasn't married me. I'm not a woman of the dark blood sunset's family. So that kid and I are not related. And as for you, your family has only you now. The devil has disappeared for several thousand years. Your father and the others are gone. Do you still want to keep that vow? As long as one of our dark blood sunset family's members is still alive, the vow is still there. I will never forget it, said Leona with a stern visage. Uncle couldn't marry you because he didn't return alive. If he was able to return, he would have surely married you. You are a member of the dark blood sunset family, no matter how hard you try to deny it. I call you Auntie, and you have never objected to it. It means that you accepted it. If you did accept it, you should follow the vow of the dark blood sunset. You should return to Shi Yen what belongs to him. Fei Lan was silent. After a long moment, she sighed weakly. Even if I give it to him now, he won't be able to use it. His realm is still too low. The scar on Leona's cheek twitched, as if she was smiling. I know that Auntie won't just stand and stare. Otherwise, you wouldn't have helped him and you would have let Fan Yi die. Recently, Feng Ku and Russell tried their best to find Fan Yi. They had almost turned the Heaven Punishment City and Land of God Punishment upside down. Still, they couldn't find Fan Yi. No one knew that of the Fan family, the strongest family in the 9-star Chamber of Commerce, the original God Realm expert, was killed. It has nothing to do with him. I hate the Fan family. Fan Yi appeared near me. Well, he wanted to die, so I had to fulfill his wish, snorted Fei Lan. Ha. Auntie, you don't need to be so obstinate. If you didn't want to follow his wish, you wouldn't have tried to protect the Heaven Punishment City. My uncle had established this city. You aren't allowing anyone to destroy it because you know that if my uncle was still alive, he wouldn't want to see the Heaven Punishment City destroyed by the hands of the bandits, smiled Leona. I've lived in this place long enough not to want to move any more. Fei Lan pouted her lips, talking neither angrily nor indifferently. Forget it. It's okay if you don't want to admit it. I'm here to ask for your help. The star map appeared. Sure, Yen brought it out of the Purgatory Star. As soon as he arrived, he met you twice. It's destined. You can't escape your fate. The Imperial Masters of the Dark Firmament Divine Nation were all the ancestors of the Dark Blood Sunset family. My big uncle disappeared while trying to find where the star map leads to. Don't you want to see what's there? Perhaps you can find Uncle's body. Pausing for a moment, Leona added, if he did die there. You mean that devil hasn't died yet? Fei Lan was shocked. Nobody has ever seen his skeleton, with his realm incompetence. Even if you see his corpse, it doesn't mean that he vanished, said Leona faintly. If he hasn't died yet, why didn't he come to me? It's been several thousand years already. Oh, this bastard. If he isn't dead and he didn't show his face, I will not let him live at ease. Fei Lan's eyes sparkled with brutal light. I guess he is reluctant for some reason. Maybe he's confined somewhere, waiting for us to unchain him. Leona just smiled. You got a silver tongue, girl. People from your dark blood sunset family are all lunatics and swindlers. I don't believe you, snorted Fei Lan. It's all right. You can believe what you want. Before that kid leaves, I will stay in the Heaven Punishment City. When you make up your mind, Auntie, you come see me. With your powers, I think that no one could hide the person you want to see in the land of God Punishment, said Leona indifferently. She faded into the dark, then vanished into thin air, leaving no trace of aura. Fei Lan fell into silence. She frowned. but no one knows what she's thinking. Dash. Sure Yen went to Kafu's shop. Bloody Slaughter Katua was there. Brother, you're back. Katua laughed. Brother, you're a genius. Black Horn was no match for you. I'm totally convinced now. After this battle, you're no longer some anonymous junior. Everyone in Heaven Punishment City is talking about your title and stories. Oh, yes, you're dangerous. No wonder my big brother admires you a lot. I finally got it, Kafu also added. How are Bao Ao and the other two? Good. Their powers are about to be restored fully. They are all feeling well. After their time of suffering, their realms seem to be progressing very quickly. I can tell that they will break through the new realm soon. Katua complimented honestly. When Bao Ao, Jeji, and Borua were brought to him, they were so weak. After using pellets and divine crystals, their energies were restored quickly. Their realms were also enhanced. They were in the soul transformation process as they had to calm down and learn the essence of their powers. Katua had a good intuition. He knew that those three people's innate endowment was more than amazing. If they had enough time, they could break through the new realm shortly. Even if they had to stay in the Grace mainland where the energy had been drained, they could still easily become the top characters. Since they arrived in the Raging Flame Star area with sufficient energy supplies, their talents started to shine like someone who cleaned up the dust covering the pearls. Where are they? Asked Sher Yen. They are moved to my lair, a forbidden place outside of the land of God punishment. They're safe. The Heaven Punishment City is dangerous these days. They couldn't stay there for a long period. Don't worry. I will ask my people to take care of them. Katua pounded his chest affirmatively. As Sher Yen had exchanged the star map for the other three's lives, they knew how deep the relationship was between them. Katua took Bao Ao's team away. He wanted to do Sher Yen a favor. On the other hand, he wanted something to depend on to negotiate with Sher Yen. If Sher Yen wanted to deal with Katua, the people he kept as a safeguard would keep Sher Yen from acting recklessly. Although this made Katua look generous, his plan was close-knitted. Your people. Sher Yen's face was cold. Your men aren't all loyal to you. Last time, one of your men almost killed me. Listening to him, Katua was embarrassed. No, that won't happen this time. You don't need to worry. Why did you leave? It's good to stay at Phone Kuz. This place of mine isn't safe. If Barrett wanted to kill you, I wouldn't be able to help. What do you know about Fei Lan? Asked Sher Yen all of a sudden. Fei Lan. Katua frowned as he didn't know this person. The owner of the oldest shop in the Heaven Punishment City. Deji, you don't often stay in the Heaven Punishment City, so you don't know her. Kafu smiled and explained. I've heard that Fei Lan has been staying in the land of God punishment even before the Heaven Punishment City was established. Her realm isn't high, and she's a little bit freaky too. She doesn't talk to people much. Not many people know her. I don't either. Kafu, please deliver 10,000 top-quality divine crystals to Fei Lan's shop for me. Sher Yen pondered for a while, then asked. 10,000 crystals. Kafu screamed. Even if I have spent 10 years, I wouldn't have earned that much. Do as you're told. Why are you babbling there? Bloody Slaughterer Katua rolled his eyes, yelling at his brother. Kafu retracted his neck, nodded begrudgingly. His face looked like he was attending a funeral. He felt so painful, going to Fei Lan's shop to give her free divine crystals. Why? Bloody Slaughterer Katua asked carefully after his brother had left. She's one of us, Sher Yen answered deliberately. Chapter 839, A Knot in the Heart. Chapter 839, A Knot in the Heart, _ She's one of us. Bloody Slaughterer Katua gawked, thinking that Sher Yen was kidding. He smiled gingerly, his face odd. Fei Lan was the oldest person in the land of God punishment. No one denied this. However, she had only the true God realm, right? She was slow and looked like she was about to pass away in any minute. Compared to Shi Yan, they contrasted immensely. No matter how hard Ka Tua tried to rationalize it, he couldn't relate Fei Lan to Shi Yan. These two people weren't in the same world. Yeah, she should be one of us, nodded Shi Yan seriously. Ka Tua wanted to cry. Why should she be one of us? Impossible. Brother, is something wrong with you? No, nothing is wrong here. Shi Yan rose the corner of his mouth. I think she had attacked Fan Yi. She's also the person who has been protecting the land of God punishment and the heaven punishment city for several thousand years. Ka Tua was dumbstruck, looking at Shi Yan as if he was looking at a monster. Fan Yi has the original God realm, right? Not many people in the heaven punishment city could fight him. And I have never heard that the heaven punishment city had a secret guard. Senior, you're going to give her 10,000 top-quality divine crystals because you think she is one of us? This is too sheer bull. I'm not sure whether she would accept it or not. I just want to show my respect. Sure, Yen didn't explain in details. And you, next time you see her, you should show respect too. You shouldn't look down on her. Shi Yan spoke seriously. Ka Tua held a forced smile, nodded his head begrudgingly. All right, you're my senior. It's right if you say it's right. Although he said so, he didn't buy it. 10,000 divine crystals. How many years did he have to rob to earn that money back? He suddenly regretted it. He shouldn't have let his brother deliver the money like that. The headquarter of the Black Curtain Pirates, Heaven Punishment City. Master, we got news. That kid had left Feng Ke's base to go to Kafu's shop. Inside a spacious stone hall, a pirate kneeled down, reporting with respect. Inside the hall, two people were sitting neatly. They were Barrett and Blackhorn, his vice chief. They were the two top leaders of the Black Curtain. The Black Curtain was the strongest pirate force in the Raging Flame Star area. They had so many hotshots with a strong background. They also had a position in the Heaven Punishment City. Barrett and his vice chief Blackhorn were the infamous heroes in the land of God punishment. Since their debut many years ago, they had rarely failed. But now Blackhorn was defeated. Dismissed, Barrett waved his hand. The pirate kneeling on the ground immediately went out of the hall. Barrett, do we really need to do that? Defeat means defeat. I admit that I was defeated. I have nothing to regret. That kid is quite the character. At the second sky of King Godrealm, he beat me. I'm convinced, said Blackhorn in a loud and frank tone. He didn't look distressed. He continued excitedly. He's excellent. Since he now has such mighty power, he will be more dangerous in the future. All right, who is that kid? How did he know Feng Rao? Shut up. Barrett was so enraged he got angry. You lost. You should be ashamed. And how about me? I lost my Feng Rao. Just a woman, Blackhorn teased him. With your powers and tricks, if you want women, you can find all kinds if you want. Why do you need to hold on to Feng Rao? Blackhorn hesitated for a while, then added, Honestly, I don't want you to have any relationship with that woman. It has been so many years since we've put forth everything strenuously. How much blood have we shed to have our current attainment? If you marry Feng Rao, what should our brothers do? Should we all follow Feng Ke? That old man isn't okay for us to follow. He's too old. His realm can't be progressed fast enough. We won't have a bright future going with him. We're still young. If we get more time, the Heaven Punishment City will be ours soon. You fool. You don't know what is happening. To you, women are just goods that you can buy or tools you use to vent out your lust. You will never experience what I am experiencing now. Barrett took a deep breath. To me, Feng Rao has been my dream since I was young. When I met her that year, I swore that I would have to marry her. She is a knot in my heart. If she hadn't emerged in my life, it would have been all right. But now that she's back, if I can't fulfill the dream of my younger self, it will affect my realm seriously. Listening to him, Black Horn finally understood. He became solemn. So you must get Feng Rao at any cost. I must, as long as I get to marry her. Even if I have to give her up later, I will be able to accomplish the dream of my younger self. I can untie the knot in my heart. But if I can't have her, I will feel very irritated and annoyed. Barrett's eyes sparkled with brutal light. That kid is an obstacle. I want to crush him. He's in the Heaven Punishment City, and the city has rules. If we kill him, everybody will know who committed such a deed. Are you going to break the rules and have people laugh at your face? Black Horn advised, hold it for a while. He will join the expedition to the New Star area. We can find a chance to kill him along the way. I can't wait for that. Barrett snorted. People made the rules of the Heaven Punishment City, right? Wait until I've reached the second sky of Original God Realm. I will make that immortal Feng leave his position. I will create new rules. Who can hinder me then? Do you really want to kill him? Black Horn suddenly got up and contemplated before saying, If you are going to be so persistent, you must be careful. That kid isn't easy to deal with. If you can't kill him in one strike and you have someone else to assist you, there will be trouble. Don't lose this chance for nothing. At that time, perhaps you won't even be able to join the expedition. Don't worry. I won't let people figure it out. As long as I leave no trace, it will be all right. Even if they figure out that I did that, they will have no evidence to accuse me. As the bloodthirsty desire rose in Barrett's heart, he couldn't hold it anymore. Barrett immediately prepared for his stealthy operation. I'll go with you. I'll help you hold Ka Tua back. If we brothers join hands, I think it won't be hard to kill him. Black Horn felt reluctant, but he only had the choice to cooperate with his brother. The two of them had a close brotherhood. They had been together for many years in battles. These two were men who weren't afraid of anything. Once they were determined, they would never hesitate. Their deeds would be harsh and furious, leaving opponents no chance to counterattack. Good bro! Barrett laughed, shouting, Go! We're going to kill him. If he dies, Feng has no choice. He still needs our forces anyway. Afterward, they left without letting their warriors know. They discreetly left the Black Curtain's headquarters in an attempt to kill their target. An isolated manor in the southwest area of the Heaven Punishment City. More than 10 warriors were gathering in a secret chamber underground. Their faces were grim. Lying in the stone coffin at the center of the chamber was a cold and frigid body. It was Fan Yi of the 9-Star Chamber of Commerce. The people surrounding him wore normal clothes, but they were all experts of the 9-Star Chamber of Commerce. At this moment, all of them looked gloomy. 2 days ago, Fan Yi came back with a pale face. He said that he was wounded severely and he needed to recover in seclusion. However, after one night, when they came to see him to discuss important matters, they found that he was no longer breathing. Normally, a warrior at the Original God Realm wouldn't have died that easily. Even though his god body was smashed, he could have used the soul altar to resurrect it with some kind of skill. But Fan Ye's soul altar also perished. He was dead, really dead. He would never come back to life ever again. When he came back the other day, although his condition wasn't good, his mind was still lucid. They thought that he wouldn't die that fast. They believed that it was impossible that his soul altar would also vanish. Nevertheless, he died. After only one night, his soul altar didn't exist anymore. The strangest thing was that none of them had recognized anything. They didn't even hear Fan Yi scream. His death was eccentrically unreasonable. They were all startled and frightened. Many people in the Heaven Punishment City were searching for Fan Yi at this moment. These experts were afraid. They became uneasy and anxious. They started to discuss whether they should leave the Heaven Punishment City or not. Although the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce had bought this manor at a high price, Russell and Feng Ku were the top leaders of the Heaven Punishment City and the tycoons of the entire area. If they continued to search, they would find this group shortly. What should we do? Fan Yi died. How can we explain this to the headmaster? Asked an old man, frowning as if he had a headache. If the headmaster knows this, we won't be able to dodge this responsibility. Before we came here, I told Fan Yi to wait until Liu Feng was here. He didn't listen to me. Now we're all in trouble. He wanted to solve the problem before Liu Feng came. He wanted to earn the merit alone. Too bad for him, he got such fatal results. He was too arrogant, said another one. More than 10 warriors grimaced. They didn't know what they should do. While they were anxious, the door of the secret chamber squeaked. A hunky, middle-aged man appeared. This man had the second sky of original God Realm. He was the master of the Li family, ranked behind the Fan family in the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce. Liu Feng arrived. The Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce consisted of many families. The Fan family and the Li family were the two strongest forces. Many years ago, the master of the Li family used to be the headmaster of the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce. The Li family was also the strongest clan at that time. However, the master and the family's experts had perished while sweeping the land of God punishment. The Li family declined. The Fans took the chance to rule the Chamber of Commerce. After many years of recovery, the Li family rose up again. Liu Feng was the master of the Li family in this generation. His realm was profoundly high. In the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce, he stood right behind Fan Tianpe. The Li family would have a chance to become more prosperous behind him. They believed that he could make the Li family surpass the Fan family and take the title back as the strongest clan in the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce. Seeing him, they greeted respectfully with fright. Let me see how he is. Liu Feng frowned, walking to Fan Ye's corpse. He stretched his arm, touching the neck of the body. A dim light flashed on his palm. Beams of light moved around Fan Ye's neck, entering his corpse. After a while, Liu Feng suddenly screamed in pain. His body jerked back as if he was attacked by a tremendous force. He discolored, letting out a low shout. Too strong! Chapter 840 Dispute. Chapter 840 Dispute. Fan Ye's corpse was nothing out of the ordinary. He laid silently in the cold stone coffin. His soul altar remained perished. His life aura had vanished. Liu Feng, the master of the Li family from the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce, shouted. He looked pale as he retreated, as if a strong, invisible force had hit him. He looked truly frightened. The wrist of the arm he had used to touch Fan Ye's body was shaking. His 5 fingers lost all color, while his fingernails dissolved at a speed that naked eyes couldn't observe. Then, the dissolution expanded to the back of his fingers. It seemed like it was going to melt his entire hand. Liu Feng took a deep breath. Under the scrutinizing looks of many warriors of the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce, he sat down on the ground and closed his eyes, urging the energy within his body. Gold beams suddenly emitted from his fingertips. The sharp air swirled around his fingers, trying to resist the evil, erosive force. After a while, he finally eradicated the energy that was intruding into his fingers. He was pale, but the others weren't sure if it was because he had consumed a lot of his energy or if it was because he was so frightened. The other warriors of the Nine-Star Chamber of Commerce dully looked at him. No one dared to utter a word, as they were all very nervous. That strange and wicked energy had seeped into Fan Ye's body several days ago. It had made him return lucidly before taking his life and destroying his soul altar during the night. It had totally destroyed him. Although it has been several days, that energy had not dispersed yet. Liu Feng tried to investigate with his second sky of original God Realm, and he was attacked by that strange energy. This power was unpredictable and unreasonably strong. The others secretly thought that they were lucky. They felt lucky that because their realm was low, they didn't have to use their soul consciousness or energy to look into Fan Ye's death like Liu Feng had done. Otherwise, they wouldn't be standing here unharmed like this. Without a strong power and a profound realm like Liu Feng's, if they sensed the corpse rashly, their god soul would also perish. So strong! After a while, Liu Feng pulled himself together. Color returned to his face. He took a deep breath, his face stern. What happened to him? Any information? Who attacked him? Everybody remained quiet, shaking their heads. Masterly, what realm does the attacker have? What kind of power Upanishad does this one possess? Asked a warrior gingerly. I am sure that the attacker's realm is higher than mine. About the power Upanishad, I haven't seen it before. That erosive ability is very frightening. If we couldn't examine Fan Ye, we would have never known his condition. Liu Feng wagged his arm. A gold air emitted from his fingertip. He rose his hand and cut. A soft swish sound was heard and Fan Ye's chest was cut open. The 9-star Chamber of Commerce's warriors took one step forward to look at the cut in Fan Ye's chest. Inside Fan Ye's chest was an area of bloody paste. His internal organs and rib cage were dissolved. With a closer look, they found that Fan Ye's god body now was just like a skin bag containing the bloody paste. At this moment, Fan Ye looked like a rubber ball with some strange bloody pulp. Inside the rubber ball, his flesh, bones, and internal organs had been dissolved into that scary, bloody paste. His body had been destroyed entirely, which gave him no chance to recover. Everybody paled immediately. They were so scared of the cruel energy of the attacker. They felt anxious, thinking that their operation in the land of God punishment was too reckless this time. Except for the Li family's warriors, the others should leave. We have something to discuss now, shouted Liu Feng after pondering for a while, his face solemn. More than half of the 9-star Chamber of Commerce's warriors bent their bodies to excuse themselves, all having grimaced expressions. The ones who stayed were Li's warriors. They kept silent, looking at the open cut on Fan Ye's corpse. A white-headed old man at the first sky of original god realm twitched. Fear appeared deep in his eyes as he muttered, "Looks exactly the same." You know about this? Liu Feng sighed, then forced a smile. Li Wei nodded. His eyes didn't reflect any light. It is definitely the same thing that caused our master's death that year. When the master's god body was brought to our family, the elders had examined it carefully. His corpse had a perfect skin layer, while everything inside was just a bloody paste. He was also eroded inwardly, and his soul altar perished gradually. Sigh, I didn't expect that the secret hermit of the land of God punishment was still alive. My goodness, the hermit starts to attack again. I'm afraid that we are going to fall into a disaster again. The attacker is the same person. We can be sure about this. Liu Feng furrowed his brows. With our powers, I don't think we can have plans with the star map easily. Later on, I will send a message to Fan He that Fan Ye is dead now. He has to know this. Fan He will come to the land of God punishment personally. Li Wei was surprised. He will come. The star map is important. As the master of the Fan family and the president of the Chamber of Commerce, he understands that the star map will be closely related to the future of the Raging Flame Star area. Fan He's realm is higher than mine, and Fan Tianpa, his son, is also extraordinarily strong. The Fan family has accumulated for so many years. They have a lot of hotshots now. If they come, we can resist the mysterious hermit of the land of God punishment. Li Yufeng's eyes showed his cruel intentions. As long as we can capture that hermit to take revenge for our ancestors, I will agree to work with the Fan family to get through this. Yes, we should take revenge for our family. That hermit is ruthless, leaving no options for survival for the victims. Their soul altars were also gone. If we don't kill this person, The Li family will find it hard to stand upright in the 9-star Chamber of Commerce, agreed Li Wei. I'm going to prepare something. Liu Feng's face darkened. A tremendous soul energy, fluctuation emitted from him. A stone sound emerged in his palm. He transmitted the message right away. Ka Fu's shop. Sure. Yan sat quietly in the garden behind the shop. Starlight fell over him like a drizzle, illuminating the whole place. The mysterious, misty starlight disappeared into his body right when it touched him. It seemed like the stars in the sky had a magical connection with his god body. They were all attracted and pulled into his god body. At the same time, the earth and heaven energy turned into invisible flows that gathered into his god body. It streamed fiercely through his vessels. After more than 10 times of refining, it became the pure essence qi, contributing to the vortex in his lower abdomen. His soul became peaceful and crystal clear. He didn't have any distracting thoughts in his mind, giving room to comprehend the magical mysteries of the star. His Star Power Upanishad had a positive advancement after the experience of the fusion between the star nucleus and the star martial spirit. Shi Yan had a premonition that he could have a new breakthrough with his star power, putting him one step closer to passing the tough threshold of the third sky of King God Realm. With an infinite number of stars in the sky, he could wield a formidable power that he could use easily. To control the star power better, he knew that he shouldn't relax for even a second. As soon as he had free time, he immediately let himself sink into the starry sea, using his soul to grab it and get more energy and powers from the nebula in the vortex in his lower abdomen. Ka Fu's aura suddenly entered his sea of consciousness. Shi Yan's brows twitched as he woke up from his meditation. After several breaths, Ka Tua and Ka Fu appeared as they walked from the front shop to the manor behind. Shi Yan stood up. What is the matter? She received the crystals, said Ka Fu with a sad face. She received them curtly. Who can reject 10,000 free, top-quality divine crystals? Even if my brother worked as a hard-working pirate for 10 years, he wouldn't earn that much. They're gone just like that. Sigh, that hag is lucky today. Shut up. Shi Yan's face got colder. If you are not going to mind your manners, don't complain about it to me. Ka Fu's face darkened. A blood-red light sparkled in his eyes as he coldly gazed at Shi Yan. Ka Fu, if you think I'm wrong, we will diverge here. Shi Yan curled his lips, speaking indifferently. He turned to Ka Tua. You should watch your greedy brother better. This good-for-nothing man can't give up 10,000 divine crystals. How is he going to achieve anything big? Ka Tua changed his face, talking coldly. Bastard. Apologize to my senior now. With your intelligence, do you think you can understand my senior's bright ideas? Deji. Ka Fu shouted, his face reddened in anger. He's just a boy of unknown origin. Would he be worth spending so much on? Why, we live well in the land of God punishment. Even if we don't depend on anyone, we will have a piece of land on our own in the future. Why do we have to go with him? You know nothing. Ka Tua snorted. Apologize to my senior. Now, you aren't going to even obey my words? Under his brother's pressure, Ka Fu paled and reddened. His visages shifted continually. After a while, he sighed inwardly, then turned to Shi Yan, bending his body. I'm sorry. Then he turned around and left. Obviously, he wasn't convinced. My brother has been in the land of God punishment for too long. He started to look down on people. He is just a dumb man. Brother, don't keep it in your mind. Ka Tua smiled, talking to Shi Yan. Brother, don't worry. I will teach him later. Please don't haggle with him. It's okay as long as you're loyal to me. For him, if he doesn't want to contribute, he won't receive my help in the future. Shi Yan waved his hand as if he didn't really care. I will make him obedient, Ka Tua said, giving him a dry smile, then bowed and left. Shi Yan's eyes were cold. He snorted, not saying anything else. He sat back in his seat. Through Ka Fu's discontented words, Shi Yan recognized that he didn't have control over this pair of brothers yet. Otherwise, even if Ka Fu didn't want to work for him, he wouldn't have dared to complain. Shi Yan started to consider whether he should use the flow of Ka Tuo's original soul to remind them a little bit or not. However, if he subdued Ka Tuo and made them unable to voice their opinions anymore, he would plant a seed of resentment in Ka Tuo's heart. They wouldn't follow him with all their hearts and will. When they found a way to resist him, they would rebel fiercely. His original plan was to use his power and competence to make Ka Tuo wholeheartedly work for him. It would be a struggle initially, but if he could make it work, Ka Tuo would never have other thoughts but to work for him loyally. All of a sudden, he was hesitant. Chapter 841. Madly Striving in the Battle. Chapter 841. Madly Striving in the Battle. A corner of the street outside the shop. Next time, you better be careful. Don't try to argue with him. From the moment we cured Bao Ao and the other two, we've been walking on the same side as him. You know his power. Why do you need to get mad at him? Rebuked Ka Tuo. Deji, he gave 10,000 top-quality divine crystals to a useless granny. He used your fortune. Ka Fu was so angry that his face was turning red. His resentful aura shot up into the sky. I don't want to see your accumulation of many hard-working years get used up like that. How many adverse situations have we been through to survive until today? Can you count the number of wounds on our bodies? We had only several 100,000 top-quality divine crystals, and he just threw away 10,000 pieces for free. How generous he is! But this asset isn't his. We have to exchange our lives for that. With 10,000 divine crystals, we could have bought 10 tiger shark war chariots. Of course I know this, nodded Ka Tuo, then sighed begrudgingly. But if we don't invest in it, how can we profit from it? 10,000 top-quality divine crystals are nothing compared to the power Upanishad inheritance he gave me. Wait until I've entered the original God realm. We will have a position in the heaven punishment city. Won't the fortune come to us then? Forget it. I can't quarrel with you. I don't want to do that. But it would have been okay if he invested it well. However, that Granny Phelan has only the true God realm. I can't think of any way she would be useful to us. He said that she was one of us. Was that a joke? I think he treats us as his subordinates. Who is that man? Although he's strong, he doesn't have a background force. I think he will barely survive the star map expedition. Ka Fu shook his head. Maybe he knows something extraordinary about that old woman. Ka Tuo contemplated, his face stern as if he suddenly recalled something. No way. Deji, do you also think that Phelan has something strange? Did he convince you? Ka Fu was so surprised. Do you think I am that easily influenced like that? Ka Tuo laughed. Anyway, because of his words, I've asked some of my friends. I think that it's true that we have an amazing hermit in the land of God punishment. I heard the other leaders say that when the land of God punishment had almost fallen many years ago, it was saved miraculously. No one could explain why. Phelan is the oldest living person in the heaven punishment city. If we have such a character, she would be an obvious suspect. Ka Fu didn't dare agree with him. He just shook his head with a forced smile. Impossible. If she's that intimidating, why does she need to stay in the heaven punishment city? The Raging Flame Star area is vast enough for her to rule, right? Why does she only want our divine crystals? We can't guess what she is thinking. Ka Tuo also couldn't explain it. Who's that? However, right at that moment, Shi Yan's shout came from the garden behind the shop. A torrential, bursting energy immediately shot up into the sky. Ka Tuo and his brother were astounded. Without much hesitation, they dashed towards the garden behind the shop. This garden had some big trees, and they were shaking inaudibly at the moment. Leaves fluttered everywhere. Sure, Yen floated in the middle of the rolling leaves, his face solemn. A scorching air current flooded the garden from an unknown source. The big trees in the garden were quickly ignited. The flame rose high in the air. Shortly after, the backyard of Ka Fu's shop was burning, creating a vivid red sea of fire. While Shi Yan's thought flickered, an extremely cold energy shot out from his body. His body now had a thick layer of crystal clear ice. Each of his pores had a cold current oozing out. A strange barrier, which was an invisible net, covered Ka Fu's shop shortly. The furious flame burst out furiously. The temperature was so high that blood in people's body would have evaporated. As soon as Ka Tuo reached the backyard, his face changed dramatically. He shouted in fright, "It's Barrett! He dares to attack us in the Heaven Punishment City." Ka Fu couldn't help but scream, "OSH*T! My shop!" Staying within 3 meters of ice created by his ice power, Shi Yan's eyes were like sabers. He shouted, "If you dare to attack us, show yourself." A fire cluster appeared distinctively in the fire sea. Barrett, one of the top leaders in the land of God punishment, appeared in that scorching fire cluster. With a ferocious face, he laughed like crazy. "You're brave, kid. Too bad, though. You won't escape death today." Boom! Tens of thousands of flames fired like fire ribbons, entangling Shi Yan's god body. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 3-meter-thick ice layer melted rapidly. "You guys should just let me kill you. Don't resist. Or else, don't blame me for having no mercy." Barrett's face was crazy and savage. His cold eyes raked through Ka Tuo and his brother. "Don't move. I won't kill you too. If you even move your fingers, I will believe that you are going against me, and I won't show you mercy." The extremely cold energy circulated around his body. The melted ice layer was built up again. Sure, Yen was trying to resist the flames. At this moment, he didn't use all of his energy. He just watched Ka Tuo coldly. He wanted to see what Ka Tuo and Ka Fu would do. "Gee, we can just neglect him." Ka Fu lowered his voice. "Damn it!" Ka Tuo was enraged. His soul altar spun. The furious, distorted energy burst out from his god body. Rocks and countless miscellaneous items in Ka Fu's shop rolled up into the sky, gathering in his god domain. "Court death!" Black Horn's loud and frank voice arose from a corner of the fire sea. Countless icicles flew out immediately, aimed at Ka Tuo and Ka Fu. Black Horn was hiding to watch the two brothers. Seeing that they had made up their mind, he attacked them immediately. The icy cold energy exploded, creating so many icicles, ice sabers, and ice swords that flew around the brothers. "Kill them all!" Barrett was furious. He shouted and attacked instantly like a fire giant. A fire punch, like a volcano, pounded on Shi Yan's god body. Bang! The thick ice layers created by the ice-cold flame shattered under one punch. Ice rocks shot out everywhere. Shi Yan screamed as though he was hit by a giant hammer. His veins and bones were shaken. He couldn't help but urge the energy of the immortal demon blood, entering the third sky of rampage instantly. His eyes became garnet. He faced the sky and roared like a savage beast. Starlight dots fell from countless stars in the sky. In just a moment, they formed the star armor, which was fused perfectly with his nebula. The flames swarmed over, covering his god body. However, they couldn't burn his star armor immediately. At the same time, Shi Yan touched his forehead, making his soul altar spin. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of rough lightning strikes shot out from his god body like a bunch of dragons. The lightning strikes twisted in the air, darting furiously toward Barrett. Some strange flames also flew out from his glabella, dancing like spirits in the sea fire. They were all aimed at Barrett. In his savage roar, Sure Yan's god body withered. An evil, seething energy rocketed furiously. His aura now was like a demogorgon, while his power, Upanishad, changed, a dead seal condensed in the sky. He showed a sad, shrill face that grimaced. He hissed and screamed in pain, flying towards Barrett. At this moment, Sure Yan's energy in his entire body had burst out. His momentum was like a rainbow. He wasn't inferior to Barrett. Barrett turned into the fire giant. With his first sky of original god realm, he couldn't kill Sure Yan at his first attempt. As Sure Yan was able to counterattack, Barrett became more furious. Swish, swish, swish. The flames condensed into fire snakes. Tens of thousands of those fire snakes were swimming in Barrett's god domain. They carried the nature of fire that crazily flew toward Sure Yan. The scorching temperature had melted Ka Fu's shop shortly. All items were burned. The torrential, frightening flames seemed to melt the soul altar once. Confine. Sure Yan's god domain changed one more time. Now he was using space power. All objects in his area halted for 1 second. A massive space crack was formed, swallowing half of the flames Barrett had created. Boom, boom, boom. More and more fire snakes bombarded Sure Yan's god body. He had to back off as more than 100 fists were punching him at the same time. His bones resounded as if they were about to crack. His face reddened like there were flames on it. He took this attack on his own. Anyway, his real competence was inferior to Barrett's. Under such a powerful attack, he felt like a giant was bullying him around. Not dead yet. Barrett's eyes were radiant with ruthless light. He was using his true flame. It was the first time he had to struggle hard fighting a second sky of King God Realm Warrior. In the screams, Barrett energy rose once again. He had finally released all of the energy that a first sky of original God Realm Warrior could have. The intimidating aura was really earth-shattering. Star moves. Sure Yan's soul altar changed again. Star energy was sent out thickly from the nebula in his body. It had formed a connection with the 9-tiered galaxy. The glorious star inside the nebula also flew out visibly in front of Sure Yan. The starlight of outer space gathered and shone on that marvelous star. The rice-sized star enlarged shortly. It was now a complete crystal ball, which was constantly taking in the star energy. It became so dazzling that it hurt to look at it. This star had a subtle magical connection with Sure Yan's god soul. His hand flicked the star that barged into Barrett. Boom! Just like a mountain falling from the sky, hitting Barrett, sparks were sent everywhere. Barrett was struck and he fell on the ground. His aura was subdued for a moment. But it was just a short moment. In Barrett's infuriated roar, flames rose from the ground. He seemed to urge the flame underground, flying savagely toward Sure Yan. The fire resembling Barrett emerged from the fire sea. They all stretched their arms out to snatch Sure Yan as if they wanted to tear Sure Yan into pieces. Each of these fire figures had the soul energy fluctuation. They seemed to be the magical fire clones of Barrett. Chapter 842. The Value of 10,000 Top-Quality Divine Crystals. Chapter 842. The Value of 10,000 Top-Quality Divine Crystals. More than 10 flame figures, as vague as the giant god of fire, flooded from everywhere, bringing the tremendous fire all together. The giant fire surged violently, bursting uncontrollably from the ground as if it was going to cover the entire heaven punishment city. The scorching energy was about to destroy the entire city. At this moment, Barrett released the complete power of the original God realm, launching his formidable attacks. The fire snakes wound around Sure Yan's god body. In the furious flames, his energies gathered in his meridians and streamed strangely. With a gap between an entire realm, Shi Yan had the right to be proud that Barrett had to use all of his strength to try to deal with him. Any warrior at the second sky of King God Realm fighting a warrior at the original God Realm would not have a different result as someone who committed suicide. He would never have the luck to escape death. For Shi Yan, since he was able to stand until this moment and force Barrett to use all of his powers, he had actually reached an unimaginable level for his realm. Barrett's power and understanding of Power Upanishad were much more profound than what Fan Yi had. Shi Yan had used the immortal demon blood, his different powers Upanishads, and even all of the heaven flames to resist the savage man. However, he had to struggle a lot. Seeing the fire figures swarming over, Shi Yan pulled himself together, using the soul altar to revolve the heaven flame tier. Shi Yan released the heaven flames. Shortly after, they created a multi-layered heaven flame shield. It dazzled gloriously like a rainbow. At first glance, Shi Yan was floating in the middle of a 5-colored nimbus. Divine light radiated brightly around him. Although divine layers made of heaven flames couldn't fuse with his god body or god soul, they still looked godly and magical. The fire giants touched the heaven flames' shield and bounced back. They couldn't attack Shi Yan. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The heaven flame shield made contact with the fire giants. Colorful lights and sparks were sent out dazzlingly. Floating in the center of the heaven flame defense, Shi Yan quickly urged the energy in his body, exploding the energy of the immortal demon blood. His aura didn't decrease even a slight bit. He condensed the star energy to create the star shield the second time. The star that had flown out revolved for a while in the ground before exploding outward and attacking Barrett violently. As his god soul was blocked, no matter how fast Barrett moved, he couldn't escape the star's pursuit. Starlight flooded the place. A flying star chased after Barrett, troubling him. Barrett didn't have a free moment to strengthen his attacks. The grimaced ghost face created by the dead power appeared from nowhere once again. Just like that peculiar star, it started to fly after Barrett. At the same time, Shi Yan's surging negative energy all poured into that ghost face. Vaguely, Shi Yan and the ghost face seemed to merge into one. That ghost face then turned into his appearance and figure. It turned into a miniature version of his soul, a version that was filled with negative, cunning, and wicked emotions. Those emotions were terrifying enough to corrupt people. At the original God realm, Barrett's soul altar was also affected. From time to time, his mood affected his power, preventing him from increasing his energy. While they were battling, Shi Yan's energy drained crazily. Ka, Tua, and Ka Fu were entangled with Blackhorn, so they couldn't have a moment to help him. Boom! It sounded like some hard shell broke. The barrier outside of the fire sea was broken. Barrett's god body that was floating upright in the fire sea halted all of a sudden as if an invisible hand had grabbed him. The flames covering the entire sky disappeared rapidly at speed naked eyes couldn't observe. After 3 breaths, the entire sea of fire vanished. Barrett was dumbstruck. He just stood dully as if he couldn't move a finger. Swish! His god body flew backward as if a strong, ferocious beast was dragging him back to his base. Blackhorn's ice covering his entire body turned into small fragments, shooting out. He spurted blood. He was also frozen like Barrett, dragged out of this place. He couldn't control his god body to resist. It was so strange that the earth and heaven energy around them was sucked away. No one could feel any beam of energy or aura. Barrett and Blackhorn couldn't move a finger. They were petrified as they were sprung towards the black curtain's base. Blood trickled from their mouths while they were still flying in the sky. Shi Yan was dumbstruck. Ka Tua and Ka Fu gawked. Many warriors around them realized the bizarre situation. They looked at the sky and saw Barrett and Blackhorn being thrown to Black Curtain's base. A grumbling sound echoed afterward. A 100-meter-tall building in the black curtain's base collapsed. Giant rocks fell and covered Barrett and Blackhorn. The shop had been burned into ashes. A strong smell of burned things permeated the air. Shiryen, Ka-Tua, Ka-Fu shivered in fear. They looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. Barrett at the original God Realm and Blackhorn at the peak of the King God Realm had prepared well and attacked them. They were easily defeated like that. At the same time, they were wounded and pressed down by their own base. What they witnessed was extremely bizarre. Shiryan's face was uncertain. Light continuously sparkled in his eyes. He pondered for a while, then bowed respectfully to the void. "Thank you, Precursor, for saving me twice." The earth and heaven energy that had disappeared slowly flooded into the ruined shop, leaving the burnt and charred items on the cracked ground. Ka-Tua looked around with fright. He opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. "Quick, show your gratitude." Shiryan's face darkened, shouting. Ka-Tua and Ka-Fu were shaken. They finally pulled themselves together. Just like Shiryen, they bowed to the void respectfully. "Thank you, Precursor, for granting us your grace." It's because of the weight of 10,000 divine crystals. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cared about your lives. A hoarse female voice came to them in the air. "Shiryen, make these two fools shut their mouths. One more disrespectful word from them, and they will die. You fools!" Ka-Tua and Ka-Fu were extremely scared, and they dropped their jaws. It was Fei Lan's voice. She had heard their resentment when they were talking with each other outside the shop. Just a moment ago, they had doubted Shiryan's decision. Now everything was clear. Ka-Fu wanted to cry. He slumped on his knees and said nothing while he kowtowed on the rocky ground. Shortly after, his forehead bled. Ka-Tua was perplexed for a while. He kneeled down too. He stooped like a kid receiving his parents' teaching and didn't dare snap back a word. At this moment, they were totally convinced. Now, they weren't suspicious anymore. Barrett, at the first sky of original God Realm, was dragged away in just a blink. They couldn't wiggle out as they were pressed into their lair. What kind of power was this? Fan Yi is dead. However, Barrett is a member of the Heaven Punishment City. I just taught him a lesson. I won't kill him. 1,000 divine crystals were enough to exchange for Fan Yi's life. Because of the 10,000 divine crystals you gave me, I helped you out this time. We don't owe each other anything now. Fei Lan's voice arose the second time. Her faint, floaty voice came from nowhere. After she had finished, it was like she stopped paying attention to this area. No matter how hard Ka-Tua and Ka-Fu pounded their heads on the ground, she didn't answer them. Sure, Yen was calm from the beginning to the end. He wasn't surprised at all. The moment Barrett was bound, he suspected that Fei Lan had helped him one more time. He also knew the reason why Fei Lan helped him. It wasn't because of the divine crystals. He suspected that it was because of the blood mark. After a while, hearing nothing else from Fei Lan, Shiryen said faintly, "You guys should get up." "She's gone." "Ah, no. Perhaps she has never left her shop. With her realm and cultivation base, the entire Heaven Punishment City is in her hand." Ka-Fu was upset, his eyes gloomy as he lowered his head. He sighed weakly. "I understand now. I was so wrong. So was it worth giving those 10,000 divine crystals?" Shiryen glared at him, talking coldly. "It was worth it. Definitely worth it. I just couldn't see the truth. Please don't scold me." Ka-Fu lowered his head, feeling regret and shame. Bloody Slaughterer Ka-Tuo's eyes brightened up as he shot up from the ground and asked with excitement, "Senior, what's her origin? How is she related to us?" "She's on our side." Shiryen smiled mysteriously. "Remember, you must be careful while talking in the Heaven Punishment City. If she wanted to listen to you guys, no one would stop her." Tua nodded like a rooster eating rice. Don't worry, brother. From now on, I will respect her like she's my ancestor. I will pay close attention to. Only the three of us know about this. If you let someone else know, I won't be able to protect you both. She will erase you from this world personally, Shi Yan added after contemplating for a while. The two brothers, of course, didn't dare to say anything. They pounded their chests to assure Shi Yan that they would say nothing about it. From deep inside their hearts, this pair of brothers was totally convinced. Under the care of those like Fei Lan in the Heaven Punishment City, who would be able to touch Shi Yan. Shi Yan suddenly frowned. He squinted slightly as he changed his visage. A dark spot appeared in a ruined corner of the shop. A magical energy fluctuation rippled, but the others couldn't feel it. Sensing quietly for a while, Shi Yan was astounded. He then said to Ka Tua, "Follow me. Don't mind this place." Ka Tua and Ka Fu didn't dare to doubt Shi Yan's decision anymore. They said nothing and followed Shi Yan to the small alley in the back of the shop. They crossed many small alleys and disappeared shortly. Not long after that, many warriors came and investigated the ruin. They were frightened, discussing noisily. What happened? Dunno. Was that old Brother Feng who defeated Barrett and Blackhorn? You fool. If Brother Feng had this kind of ability, the Heaven Punishment City wouldn't have 4 leaders. He would become the sole leader. This kind of power is enough to clean up anybody. Barrett didn't have a bit of energy to counterattack. Didn't you see his body shoot over our heads with a fearful face? Yeah, it's true. Old Brother Feng can't be that intimidating. Who is that person then? Dunno. Where are Ka Tua and his brother? Dead. Perhaps they escaped. Although they were discussing many things, they could only come up with one conclusion. The attacker was very intimidating. Chapter 843 The Heart of Darkness. Chapter 843 The Heart of Darkness. Undersir. A decrepit, shabby manor 10,000 miles southwest of Ka Fu's shop. Shi Yan's group of 3 sneakily arrived in this place. As soon as they arrived, the stone gate of the manor silently opened. The yard inside had some withered ancient trees. The ambience here was tranquil and heavy. There were no energy fluctuations. Some stone buildings were built in the deep place inside the garden. Shi Yan just walked forward and didn't even frown. Ka Tua and Ka Fu exchanged looks, saying nothing while quietly following Shi Yan. After they got into the garden, the stone gate closed automatically. The sole stone door of a stone house in the manor opened inaudibly. Shi Yan's group walked in one after another. The stone house didn't have a window. After the 3 of them walked through the door closed, they found themselves immersed in complete darkness. It was so dark that they couldn't see their own fingers. A gloomy light appeared little by the stone wall. A black figure was sitting neatly on a platform. She lifted her black veiled hat, exposing her savage, scarred face. At first glance, Ka Tua and Ka Fu felt their legs shivering. Their faces grimaced shortly. They knew this face. The most ruthless woman in the dark firmament divine nation, the regimental commander of the Bloody Legion, who topped the 5 great feudal vassals in the Raging Flame Star area. This woman's bloody hands had killed so many people. Any enemy of the dark firmament divine nation would have paled fearfully facing her. Ka Tua and Ka Fu weren't exceptions. Shi Yan slightly bent his body, his face faint. Greetings, Madame Leona. I was wondering what you summoned me for. Leona sat on the high platform. Her dark green eyes were gloomy, reflecting no mood. She just looked at him and said nothing. Although she didn't say anything, an invisible pressure had pressed down on the other 3. They felt annoyed, as if they couldn't hold their lives in this place. It was much more frightening than facing Barrett and Blackhorn. After a long moment, Leona spoke slowly. You took the star map from the Purgatory Star. Sher Yen was surprised, but he didn't deny it. Yeah, I brought it out. It was God's will, mumbled Leona. She kept silent for a while, as though she had immersed in her memory. Did you know who saved you twice? I do, Sher Yen nodded honestly. Do you know why she has saved you? Asked Leona. Pondering for a while, Sher Yen peeked at Bloody Slaughter Katua and Kafu. He said, uncertainly, Is it related to my mark? You're smart. Your fortune is good too. You found her not long after you've arrived in the Heaven Punishment City. Your fate is good. That is why you got the inheritance. Leona nodded, throwing a look at Bloody Slaughter Katua. She snarled, Katua, show your mark to me. What mark? Katua was bewildered. Sher Yen smiled, pointing at his forehead. Katua got it. He immediately urged his energy to circulate the chaotic god domain. His eyes turned garnet, and the dim mark on his forehead slowly appeared. It showed the 5 blood clouds. Oh, right. No wonder why you were able to sense danger and quickly change it to safe situations several times. Leona's eyes brightened up as she muttered, turning danger into safe situations several times. Bloody Slaughter Katua was astounded. After a while he was stirred up. Is it? Staying in the land of God punishment for years, he had been besieged several times. His soul had almost been destroyed. However, from time to time, his enemies would fail to generate energy randomly as though they had made mistakes in their cultivation. They wouldn't be able to release their energy, and their only consequence was to be killed by Katua. Thanks to those lucky moments, he had harvested a lot and become famous among the pirates. Gradually, he had established his own organization. Since then, Katua had doubted the possibility of someone helping him. He couldn't have been so lucky. Every time he fell into an inescapable situation, his enemy would make a fatal mistake. He thought that God favored him and didn't want him to die yet. However, listening to Leona, he finally understood. It was not the mighty God who had helped him. Somebody else had saved him many times. Sher Yen told you to give away 10,000 divine crystals. Wasn't that worth it for you? Is your life not worth 10,000 divine crystals? Leona wore a mocking countenance. Did you really think that your fate was that good? Tuo's brawny body shivered as gratitude arose in his heart, his eyes watery. He said dully, So she has saved me many times. I'm so dumb to have not figured it out. Katua gawked. He suddenly realized that something extraordinary had happened to his brother, which he didn't know. Also, he now knew that his brother had almost died many times. Someone had saved his life, which helped him survive and gain today's position. That person was Phelan. If you didn't have the mark and she didn't know about your mark, you would have been dead already, said Leona faintly. I got it. I finally got it. Thanks for telling me all of this. Katua was so grateful. He bowed respectfully with tears falling from his eyes. No one understood his labor and effort for many years. From the point of view of an anonymous warrior in the land of God punishment, he had suffered so many adversities which Kafu, his blood brother, didn't even know about. Katua understood that it was not easy for him to have today's attainment. He always thanked God for taking care of him that he could survive stubbornly for so many times. However, until today, he finally knew that he had a pair of eyes watching over him and taking care of him. The feeling of having someone protecting him was something he had never had for his entire life. All of a sudden, someone woke him up from his perplexed life. Tuo's feelings couldn't be expressed once with words. Do you know why you stayed alive after breaking my battleship? Do you know why I had to protect you when Ao Guduo wanted to kill you? Leona's line of sight shifted to Sher Yen. I know why, Sher Yen chuckled. At the moment I saw you use your power Upanishad, I suspected a little of it. Thank you. He bowed to show his gratitude. Leona was surprised. Her eyebrows twitched. How come you got it that fast? What did you depend on? I've seen your dark power Upanishad, explained Shuryen. Leona's eyes brightened, but she didn't say anything, waiting for his explanation. I met a war devil in the Grace mainland. It's a black iron puppet. As far as I've known, it's the dark clone of Lao Luo. I think your dark power Upanishad is somehow related to it? Shuryen tried to ask for more information. Lao Luo. Leona shook her head. It seemed like she didn't know this person. I've never heard about him before. Does he also cultivate dark power Upanishad? True. The same power, Shuryen was astounded. If you don't know Lao Luo, how are you able to also comprehend dark Upanishad? It doesn't seem right. Then his mind flickered, releasing the war devil from the blood vein ring. It's been a long time since his last use of the black puppet. The war devil's power was limited. Even if it used all of the power, it could use the energy of the peak of spirit realm. Compared to Shuryen at the moment, it was trivial. That's why he had forgotten the puppet. Leona's eyes sparkled. Her dark power moved. She landed by the war devil, her face excited. The heart of darkness. Oh my! This puppet has the heart of darkness. I know it. I know the reason. While talking, her soul altar spun, releasing a magical suction force. The heart of darkness inlaid on War Devil's chest turned into a dark light cluster, flying towards Leona. In just a blink, it disappeared into Leona's body as though it had become a part of her. A gust of dark and wicked aura shot out from Leona. She didn't say anything while she sat down, closing her eyes. She seemed to try to fuse the heart of darkness, her visage stern. After the heart of darkness detached from the iron puppet, it collapsed grumblingly, turning into fragments on the floor. There was no beam of energy remained. The war devil was totally broken. Leona was excited. She closed her eyes to feel, smiling as she was stirred up. Brother, it seems that she's taking in the Upanishad inheritance, just like I did before, said Ka-Tua gingerly. Shuryen nodded as he also saw the clues. The heart of darkness looked crucial to Leona, a warrior cultivating dark power Upanishad. It seemed to contain the mysteries of the inheritance, which was like the star nucleus in his case. At this moment, Leona was fusing the heart of darkness into her body and making it part of her, like what Shuryen had done with the star nucleus. What's going on? Ka Fu was bewildered. He thought that what happened today was very mysterious and yet exciting. It made him baffled. He started to wonder if all that he'd seen today was just a dream. I don't know. You have to ask my senior. Ka-Tua also wanted to know, looking at Shuryen. Shuryen's face was odd. He didn't understand clearly either. It seems that there was a line that connects everybody together. But Shuryen couldn't explain Ka-Tua and his brother. He hesitated for a while, then said, Don't rush. Wait until Madame Leona wakes up. We will ask her. Ka-Tua and Ka-Fu were surprised, but they didn't ask more. All then looked at Leona quietly, waiting for her to complete her fusion with the heart of darkness. Gradually, a dim mark enlarged and became clearer on Leona's glabella. 5 blood clouds. It was exactly the same as Ka-Tuo's mark and the mark on the small shield in Fei Land shop. Ka-Tuo was shaken, pointing at Leona's forehead with fright. That mark. Yes, that mark, I know it. Shuryen had doubted it before. As soon as he saw the mark on Leona's forehead, he confirmed what he was thinking. Shuryen beamed a smile. We all have that mark, right? Brother, do you have that mark too? Ka-Tua was astounded, shouting. It's true. I got one, Shuryen nodded. Anyway, your mark appears on your god body's forehead, and my mark is in my god soul center. This is the only difference. Ka Tua was perplexed. Chapter 844. What can we do then? Chapter 844. What can we do then? Black Curtain Pirates Headquarter, Heaven Punishment City. Crushed stones were scattered on the ground. The center of the large yard was concaved. Barrett and Blackhorn sat neatly in the middle of the crushed stone. Blood covered their bodies, their eyes gloomy. Fong Ku, Russell, and Jianong were here. They stood around the large yard, looking at Barrett and Blackhorn. They were in a fix with a little bit pleasure of seeing people in misfortune. Many Black Curtain pirates were also looking at their bosses with dark faces. The battle that happened in the Heaven Punishment City had caught the attention of many people. They all saw Barrett and Blackhorn being dragged through the sky of the Heaven Punishment City and thrown to their headquarters. The two of them couldn't even wiggle. Everybody knew Barrett and Shi Yen had a battle taken place in Ka Fu's shop. Of course, it wasn't hard to guess whom Barrett and Blackhorn had attacked. However, Shi Yen had only the second sky of King God Realm. Ka Tua and Ka Fu were just the King God Realm warriors. Barrett was an intimidating existence, since he was at the original God Realm. Not only could he accomplish this deed, he also fell into this helter-skelter situation. People who saw them couldn't reason what had happened. No one knows who had attacked these two in the dark. However, at this moment, people all knew that a formidable hermit had stayed in the Heaven Punishment City. This hermit was like an invisible giant towering the Heaven Punishment City, watching and keeping the order of the city quietly. The Heaven Punishment City banned fighting. People who broke the rules would be taught a lesson. Even if Barrett was a big leader, he couldn't be an exception. Do you think this is funny? Barrett was so angry. He looked at the others as if he could shoot flames with his eyes. He gritted his teeth. Yeah, I've broken the rules. So what? Are you going to expel me from the Heaven Punishment City? He could see the unfriendly mockery of Fong Ku, Russell, and Jianong. As he was enraged, he wasn't polite to them. No, we're not here to solve your rule-breaking case. Fong Ku twitched his mouth, making a bizarre smile. Moreover, you've got your punishment. We won't trouble you more. Haha, Barrett. Your fortune isn't good, I think. You've always been disgruntled. Jianong and Russell also sneered. Their faces showed their inaudible ridicule. Did you come here to see how funny my situation is? Barrett darkened his face. The flame of anger rose in his eyes. I used to think that in the Heaven Punishment City, the four of us were the strongest. I've never thought that we're just the order keepers in daylight. Someone in the dark is much stronger than us. That person seems to use his or her own methods to control the city. Are you willing to let someone else take your powers? What can we do then? Jianong shook his head begrudgingly. When we aren't as strong as this night character, we can't do nothing but stoop our heads. Although that mysterious expert has a high realm, he or she isn't hostile to us. Why should we find the way to lose our faces altogether? I think it isn't a bad thing to have a character like that to enforce the rules of the Heaven Punishment City. Yeah, it's true. Even if we don't like it, what can we do then? Russell beamed a forced smile. That hermit could subdue people easily. We're not the equal opponents that we were back then. This person has been in the city for so many years. If he wanted to attack us, how would we have been safe during those years? Apparently, he just wants to keep the order of the city. It's also our initial purpose. If something happens, why should we find trouble ourselves? How come I didn't know such a tremendous existence in the Heaven Punishment City? Barrett still had a grimace. We've known it not for long. Jianong and Russell exchanged looks, showing the depressed countenances. I've known it earlier. Fong Ku, the one belonging to the previous generation, took a deep breath. I always thought that it was just a rumor. I didn't put it in my mind. If I didn't know about you and Fanny, perhaps I would still think that it was just a rumor. However, today, I believe that it is true. So you are here for what? Giving me advice to not swagger in the Heaven Punishment City? Are you asking me to let that kid go? Shouted Barrett. Nope. We didn't want to talk about it. Anyway, if you still want to chase after him, go ahead. We will be happy waiting for your result. Russell laughed oddly, as if he wasn't afraid of the protector in the dark of the Heaven Punishment City. I don't want to die early, Barrett said with a stiff face as he tried to control his mood. Blackhorn was more despondent, talking with a grimace. That hermit just wanted to teach us a lesson. He didn't strike us hard. If it happens again, I'm not sure if we will survive. How is Sher Yen? Is he okay? Feng Rao contemplated behind Feng Ku for a while. Eventually, she couldn't hold her worry anymore, frowning and asking, That kid lives well. Barrett suddenly got enraged badly. Feng Rao, what's so good about him? He's just a lucky kid. He doesn't have a background force to support him. Why did you choose him? Feng Rao gave him a cold smile. It has nothing to do with you. She wanted to know whether Sher Yen was all right or not. She didn't have any good feelings towards Barrett. Knowing Sher Yen was safe, her heart quieted down. Of course, she wouldn't give Barrett a nice face. Buzz, buzz, buzz. All of a sudden, something buzzed low and hurried in Feng Ku's sleeve like a hasty mosquito. Feng Ku arched his brows. One hand of his retracted into the sleeve. He closed his eyes as if he was sensing something. His face changed dramatically afterward. He couldn't help but bawl, his face frightened. Fan Yi is dead. Hearing him, everybody else was shaken, looking at him disbelievingly. I just got the news. The headmaster of the Fan family, Fan He, is going to the land of God punishment alone. The 9-star Chamber of Commerce isn't far from us. With Fan He's competence, if he travels at the max speed, he will be here shortly. Feng Ku took a deep breath. His face was very solemn. The intelligence I got from the 9-star Chamber of Commerce says that Fan He's enraged because his blood brother Fan Yi was killed in the Heaven Punishment City. Good. He's dead. Good. Haha. Russell was bewildered. He burst out laughing like crazy. He deserved that. Haha. Feng Rao's beautiful eyes also brightened, yelling excitedly. Those pirates who had been attacked by the Fan family got excited hearing the news. Many pirates of the land of God punishment had disgusted the Fan family the most. Recently, the Fan family had always covered and attacked the pirates. If they hadn't hidden in the Forbidden Lands, many pirates would have been killed. Russell and the Fan family had a deep grudge. Feng Rao's big brother also was killed by the force of the Fans. Many friends and beloved ones of the pirates were also killed by the Fans. Thus, hearing the news made them all excited, yelling happily. Fan He arrived. Feng Ku pondered for a while, then shouted, his face grim. The noisy cheering vanished with his words. People became gloomy instantly. They looked extremely anxious and tense. In the Raging Flame Star area, Fan He, the headmaster of the Fan family, was like Du Tianji. He was the most dangerous existence at the third sky of original God realm. Their names were heard in every corner of the life stars in the Raging Flame Star area. He was deemed the peak of existence. Today, this character was about to arrive in the Heaven Punishment City personally. Who wouldn't be tense? With our forces, we're Fan He's matches. What should we do? Jia Nong asked gingerly as if he got a headache. Arrange your members. We will retreat from the Heaven Punishment City immediately. Yeah. Tell the leaders of the other forces to prepare. We will leave at the fastest speed and head directly to the area that the star map points to. This is good. It's time to move, Feng Ku said after pondering for a while. If the hermetic expert in the land of God punishment wants to protect the Heaven Punishment City, Even Fan, he won't be able to destroy the city, which has been standing firm for several thousand years. Wait until we explore the mysteries of the star map and get stronger. Then, Fan, he won't be a threat to us anymore." People nodded in agreement with his words. They hurried to arrange their formations and people. "Father," Shi Yan. "We don't know where he is," Feng Rao said softly. "We have so many people here. We can't wait for only him. We don't have much time, though. It will be good if he can come before we leave. Otherwise, we can't do anything about it," Feng Rao frowned. "It's not a bad thing if he can't join our expedition. As long as we can harvest something, we won't be mistreating him." Feng Rao also understood that they wouldn't take risks to linger and wait for Shi Yan. She could only nod her head reluctantly and listen to her father. However, she still hoped that Shi Yan would show up soon. Another hidden manor in the Heaven Punishment City. Karthu was talking with Zi Yao discreetly. Suddenly he arched his brows, jolted up and walked to the garden of the manor. Ao Gera appeared there, speaking to a man. His face was bright. "Sir Ao Guduo." Zi Yao greeted the man as she was shaken seeing him. "Your Highness, you're still stunningly gorgeous." Ao Guduo, one of the 5 feudal vassals, laughed cheerily. "No wonder Ao Gera wanted to go with you, no matter how hard I've tried to keep him. Haha! From the ancient time until now, heroes are attracted to beauties and beauties are attracted to heroes. You and this kid are perfectly matched." Zi Yao felt resentful, but her face was calm. However, she didn't reply. "You've come just on time. Those pirates seem to have some strange commotions. They want to leave the city quickly," said Karthu. "Once they leave the Heaven Punishment City, it would be hard to find them in the Forbidden Lands. They are more familiar with the topography there than we are. If we want to attack them, the next 2 days are the best chances." "Attack them?" Ao Guduo shook his head, his face grimaced. "I don't want to die unaccountably like Fan Yi." Hearing him, Karthu, Xiao, and Ao Gera were startled. They knew that Fan Yi had disappeared mysteriously, but they didn't know that he was dead. It wasn't a joke when an original god realm warrior died. It would be spread over the raging flame star area. "We can confirm that a terrifying hermetic expert is dwelling in the Heaven Punishment City," said Ao Guduo with a solemn countenance. He looked scared, too. He seemed too afraid of that person to show any offense. Chapter 845, Darkness Shrouding. Chapter 845, Darkness Shrouding. He died just like that. Karthu was frightened. His face changed slightly. He was also at the first sky of original god realm, like Fan Yi. Fan Yi was killed in the Heaven Punishment City. If he was careless, his soul would perish too. Yeah, he's dead. He was killed in the Heaven Punishment City. I got the intelligence from the 9-Star Chamber of Commerce. Ao Guduo nodded, confirming the news. Fan, he is enraged. He has departed alone from the 9-Star Chamber of Commerce, heading to the Heaven Punishment City. He wants to take revenge for his brother. Hotshots of the Fan family will arrive shortly. The Heaven Punishment City will be active when that happens. Pausing for a while, Ao Guduo continued. We're now sure that the Heaven Punishment City does have an intimidating existence. That person is watching over the order of the city. Anybody who dares to fight will be punished strictly. I don't dare to let such a powerful expert lay his eyes on me. If we want to plot the star map, we have to wait until Feng, who has left the land of God punishment. Karthu and Zi Yao darkened their face. Where's Leona? If I count correctly, she should have been here before my arrival. Didn't she contact you guys? Asked Ao Guduo curiously. Karthu and Zi Yao shook their head, indicating that they hadn't met the commander of the Bloody Legion yet. I'm sure she's in the city already. Ao Guduo darkened his face. Let me see where she is now. Aoguduo released his soul consciousness. The sky of the heaven punishment city now seemed to have his eyes looking for Leona's aura. Aoguduo and Leona were archenemies. They had been competing fiercely for many years. He was very familiar with Leona's aura, and his realm wasn't lower than Leona. That's why he had the confidence to say so. However, not long after he had released his soul consciousness, and he hadn't searched carefully enough, he found a tremendous energy fluctuation emitting from a corner of the heaven punishment city. A dark halo expanded from that area. Wherever that halo passed by, darkness fell, shrouding everything. Energy fluctuations or any other movements became unclear inside that dark light curtain. The soul consciousness couldn't sense anything, either. Aoguduo was shaken. He gathered himself immediately. "It's Leona!" Carthu cried in fear. That wave of energy was too powerful. Not only Aoguduo, but also Carthu could feel it. "She's in the heaven punishment city, indeed." "Go get her." "Damn it. Such tremendous dark energy fluctuations will alert all original God realm warriors. Big trouble." Aoguduo grimaced, getting infuriated. "Once she's exposed, they will know we're here. We can't sneak in anymore." Carthu and Yao didn't say anything. They just flew after Aoguduo. They headed to the area where dark energy fluctuated strangely and visibly. At the same time, some original God realm experts in the heaven punishment city were scattered in different areas. All felt that the dark power had engulfed them. Having a little hesitation, they then dashed toward that area. They were Feng Ku, Russell, Jianong, Barrett, Jester, the master of the Li family, Liu Feng, and Bai Tian, the commander of the Underworld League. The high existence at the original God realm had confirmed Leona's identity immediately when they sensed that aura. Leona was infamous in the Raging Flame Star area. The dark power was her flagship. As soon as they saw it, they immediately knew who was the maker of this commotion. Pirates of the Heaven Punishment City hated the members of the three big forces. Leona was the best executioner of the Dark Firmament Divine Nation. Of course, they would hate her the most, especially since the dark energy rippled this time differently somehow. It was stable as if Leona was at the critical moment of her subtle power comprehension. If they could take this chance to attack Leona, she wouldn't be able to use all of her power. It was possible that they could kill her this time. Everybody was excited, accelerating towards her location. It was because of the darkness that they couldn't see their own fingers. Leona was shrouded in the darkness that was more like black ink. A flow of terrifying dark energy was released, sweeping everywhere. Shi Yan, Katua, and his brother couldn't see each other or Leona's figure. They were all shrouded in the absolute darkness. However, they could feel that Leona's location very clearly. She was like a massive dark sun appearing in their sea of consciousness, which was emitting earth-shaking energy fluctuations. Darkness expanded, reaching every direction. After a couple minutes, the entire Heaven Punishment City, an area of tens of thousands of square miles, was covered by the dark. The entire Heaven Punishment City was sunk into absolute darkness. Darkness so black that people couldn't see their own fingers. The warriors couldn't see each other. They could only use their souls to sense. No matter what crystal or energy source was used, once a beam of light sparkled, the darkness would swallow it immediately. It seemed that dark power didn't want to let any beam of light appear. She's comprehending her dark power Upanishad. Ka Fu's voice trembled in the dark. We are near her. Should something unexpected happen to us? Although they couldn't see each other, their verbal communication wasn't restrained. They could also use the soul consciousness to locate the others. What are you worried about? Shi Yan snorted. If she wanted to kill you, you would be dead now. Don't talk nonsense. I'm afraid that her power couldn't be controlled well, and while she's comprehending her power, she forgets about our existence. With her realm and power, as soon as she urges her energy, we will die immediately. I'm afraid that she would kill us accidentally." Ka Fu was anxious in the dark. His voice even trembled. Leona was notorious indeed. She was famous for her bloodthirsty instinct. Ka Fu was scared of her. Today, she was revealing her earth-shattering energy. Of course, this man got more frightened. No, she could control the dark power easily. At her realm, she wouldn't fall into such an unconscious condition. Although Katua wasn't so confident, he still tried to comfort his brother. "Some experts are coming." Shiryen bawled. Katua could also feel it. Not only one. OF*CK. It seems like all the original God Realm experts in the Heaven Punishment City are coming. We got big trouble this time. What should we do? Ka Fu wanted to cry. She's the regimental commander of the Dark Firmament Divine Nation, the top executioner. If Feng Kun knows we're here with her, I'm afraid that we won't be able to stay in the Heaven Punishment City anymore. If they accuse us of cooperating with the enemy, our career will be destroyed shortly. Ka Tua was frowning. He stayed quiet as he couldn't think of anything to calm his brother down. She's learning the Dark Upanishad. We can't say anything now. If someone disturbs her now, it will affect her progress in advancing her Upanishad, said Shiryen. Pondering, he continued, "We should try our best to protect her. No matter what happens in the future, we're on the same side. We should help each other. Senior, I also want to help her. But the three of us aren't a match for Barrett alone. People who are heading here are all the original God Realm experts of the Heaven Punishment City. I think even the outsiders. How can we help her? You tell me." Katua couldn't help but yell. Listening to him, Shiryen fell into silence. Yes, it's true. How could they help her? How could they resist the incoming forces? Depend on them, the three King God Realm warriors. He suddenly had a headache as he felt so helpless. It was because of their low realm and insufficient energy. If he could have Leona's competence, he could stay outside and resist the enemy to give her time. However, he was just a small warrior at the King God Realm. Facing so many original God Realm experts, what could he do? While the three of them had no solution, a hoarse voice arose in the dark room. "That damn girl knows I won't just stand and stare. That's why she dares act recklessly like that." The voice stopped. The only dark halo that wasn't affected by the darkness appeared clearly, illuminating this chamber. Fei Lon didn't stand in the dark anymore. Precursor. Ka Tua was shaken. He got emotional, kneeling down and pounding his head on the ground. "Thank you for caring about me those recent years. Ka Tua will never forget your favors during the rest of my life." Fei Lon snorted. "You don't need to thank me. I just did it because of the mark on your forehead. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cared about your death or life." Pausing for a while, she looked at Shiryen. "You're not bad. You didn't ignore it, but try your best to help when the dangers come." Shiryen felt embarrassed. "My realm and powers are too low. Although I want to help, I cannot do much. I was just talking. If they come, I will be their target soon." "It's enough that you have this thought," Fei Lon nodded, talking faintly. "You three are standing on the way. Your staying here will just distract the others. You should leave." A tender flow of energy bound the three of them, directly bringing them away from this house. They were thrown away in the dark, unknowing of their destination. After they landed, they couldn't sense Leona's existence anymore, which meant that they were brought too far away from that area. Brother, it was her. It was really her. Katua was still flooded with emotions. She admitted it. She admitted that she has always taken care of me. She saved me several times. For my whole life, I have never been taken care that way. He was so touched, because for his whole life he had always struggled near the death. He had never had anyone treated him with care. Once he knew her, the gratitude overflowed, flooding his heart. Shi Yan believed that after this encounter, no matter how strong Katua could become in the future, he would never forget Fei Lan's favor. Even if Fei Lan asked him to die, he probably wouldn't hesitate to fulfill her order. Although this man was fiery and brutal, once he appreciated someone, he carved his gratitude to the heart. He would treasure that favor for the rest of his life. Yeah, Shi Yan replied, closing his eyes to release his soul consciousness. It was added to space power. He wanted to see the commotion inside the Heaven Punishment City where absolute darkness shrouded it. He knew that a battle that could shake the entire Raging Flamestar area would take place shortly. He was so excited, looking forward to it. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.